And we are live. Defcamp, hit him with that.
Good morning, Azeroth.
Feels good, man. It's that time again, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow, wherever you are in the world. Classic WoW enthusiasts and lovers of the world over. It's good to have you here, the whole handful of you. Another week closer to Classic WoW. It's that time again. Good morning, Azeroth. Some good stuff to talk about today. There is the Activision ActiBliz quarterly earnings update conference call thingy. Ooh, we got that PBR, man. I'll trade you. I'm always drinking inferior beer. I'm drinking a Guinness Draft Stout today.
I didn't know there was anything inferior to PBR.
Dude, PBR is my jam. PBR is a high sessionability. But yeah, anyway, guys, a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
With the ActiBliz stuff.
A lot to talk about.
We are also... Man, this is the 8th Good Morning Azeroth, though. Can you believe we've been doing this for 8 weeks? Right?
Holy
Have we missed one? I think we might have missed 1 week, right?
Yeah.
So kind of nice.
So who in the chat has either listened to or watched the video concerning the shareholders meeting that went on yesterday?
Did you put one out?
Put a one in chat.
We did. There was
like, just how many people in chat has actually
watched it themselves, or
Just put a one in. Well, there's only 32 people in here, but
or has even so you watched half, or even if you didn't watch it, have you heard any news about it?
I watched like I listened to like maybe 30 minutes of it, 40 minutes of it. Of the actual,
it was pretty late here, but I get the first 30 minutes as well, something like
Perfect
that.
Stealth. What's up, Perfect Stealth? How you doing, man? I love your content, bro. Love your stuff, man.
Who? Someone's content?
Perfect Stealth.
Perfect Stealth. Check him out. It's pretty good.
Let me see this.
He's very good.
What's up?
Very good.
The thing is, so we're talking about all this class fantasy and all the nerdy stuff. We're getting to, we're just really deep in the rabbit hole talking about class identity and fantasy. It just all feels good, man. Stuff. When you listen to those conference calls, man, it is like the biggest boner killer for me. They're just talking about profits and revenues and microtransactions and all this, and I'm just thinking about how beautiful WoW is. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's like, you're a content creator, you're trying to make stuff and follow the news in the space, but man, it kind of kills that suspension of reality a little bit. So I couldn't really listen to it for too long. But
I think go ahead, Dunedain.
No, you can
you go ahead, Melderon.
I think the major points that we need to talk about are, first let's talk about the 8% of Blizzard employees that are primarily from PR and CM positions were let go yesterday, or the day before. That's a lot of people. That's about 800 plus people. Let's first, I just want to say, like, that fucking blows. If you're one of those people that got fired, or let go, laid off, whatever you want to call it, you were let go. Yeah, the only difference between fired and laid off is you probably get a severance package. So very sorry to hear that. But with the conference call, with the shareholders meeting, really was primarily concerned about was Blizzard actually, guys, had its highest record year last year. Okay, it made more money last year than any other year it's ever made.
Kind of by a lot too, right? Unless I was reading it wrong, it was like they were in the billions, and the last year was in the 700 million, and it's just 2.8 billion or something. I don't know if I was reading it wrong.
I think it was a pretty nice little increase. I think it was like maybe 6 or 7, maybe a little more than 6 or 7% increase. 9%. It was 9%.
Okay.
So, but that 9% fell short of what they were planning to. So the shareholders were pissed because, even though they had a profit, the shareholders were actually pissed because, the stock prices dropped, and it still continues to drop. The trend, the other markets have gone up, other shares have gone up, and other companies. Blizzard is continuing to. It did raise a little bit yesterday. After the firings, actually went up like $3 a share.
Yeah.
But it dropped a little bit again, I think.
It did drop. Okay.
Let me check.
So
no, it's up again. Yeah, whatever.
It is up again. Yeah. So the take-home story here is that it just wasn't big enough. It wasn't as expected. The gain wasn't as expected. So what we did learn is that Call of Duty apparently did very, very well. So did Candy Crush Friends, which I had no idea that Blizzard Activision actually owned. I didn't know that until yesterday. So what we're going to see now is it looks like we're going to see a trend moving into the mobile market We also, what was interesting is that they are hiring more developers. So they want to boost the development platforms. I don't know where if that's going to be across the board. But that's just going to be for
20% increase, right? Developers and their
20% increase in developers and cut of support staff, right? So that's a whole new restructuring. And Super Soga talked about this in his video. That's a significant restructuring of the business model. So that's huge. We also Dane, I think you said it best. So you about the classic news.
Yeah. Well, if there was any classic news to be found in the call, it would probably be that they basically said classic is no real major project. So what they did, they announced the plans for 2019, and for Blizzard, they basically said just there's no major release coming in 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, that means they either think Classic is not a major release, which I can get somewhat, but they don't think it will actually give them a lot of money. Otherwise, they would probably have told.
And I think just to chime in here too,
it.
as people who are lovers of Classic WoW, have been part of the private server scene, been advocates for this game, we're almost like spiritual about this shit sometimes, which we can get in our heads a little bit. We kind of paint this narrative that, you know, we're this game that's here to turn the sinking ship around. You know, we're gonna it's gonna save the company, and you know, they're gonna go back to their roots. And it's kind of like I don't know, like a splash of cold water in the face sometimes, and they're barely even talking about it. And every time they're talking about their IPs, they're like, yes, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, all of our top performers here. And then they're like, oh yeah, and Warcraft, Diablo, you know.
Yeah, that's something very clear that I got from the call was that Blizzard, the Blizzard subsidiary, is the weakest link right now as far as revenue is concerned. And out of those IPs, it's World of Warcraft that is the weakest of them. So, which
you think
is
so?
Not
out of all of them? Nah.
They said some positive things about WoW. They said, you know, we're going to continue branching out. And they did say we have more releases coming out that are in the WoW family. That's when they were talking about Classic. They never said specifically the word Classic WoW, though, or WoW Classic.
And
But it looked to me that Hearthstone and Overwatch were bigger contributions of Blizzard than WoW was.
Yep.
You got to think all
they have been underperforming, right? They have been underperforming.
Yeah, compared to what they had projected. Yeah,
compared to what they projected. Yeah.
You're right. So, like, my takeaway from these things is, you know, at first it's like, you know, looking at Classic WoW first, right? And seeing that the way they look at this, how they're you know, talking about it, I'm trying to think to myself, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing in regards to Classic? Because does it mean that they'll just let it be its own thing, leave it alone, or will they try to capitalize on Classic and do things that you know, will basically make it a bad game by introducing things? So, you know, the way I'm looking at it right now, it sounds a lot like the Blizzard that we knew is pretty much gone.
I also noticed a trend to the mobile market again.
Oh yeah,
really.
Totally.
I mean, they said something about Call of Duty Mobile.
They talked about mobile quite a bit. Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
that's a mobile COD. Yeah, I think they said something about mobile COD. Yeah.
You know, one thing that was kind of funny though. So they're laying off something like 9% of their employee base, right? But I read a couple articles related to the whole conference call. I didn't listen to the whole thing in its entirety, like I said. But another thing that I thought was kind of a bad move, or I don't know, is that did you hear that Blizzard rented out all of Disneyland like a month or two ago?
No.
They rented it all out for some company thing, and they all went, and it was just like a private Disneyland party. Which, renting out Disneyland, that's not cheap, man. I don't know what the going rate is for that. But
stuff like that blows my effing mind.
They could have kept probably 50 people on for the price.
Oh, easily. You know how much that costs?
That shit pisses me off.
That probably costs north. Let's think. You're closing Disneyland, right, for Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's first consider how much money does Disneyland make in one day?
Millions, dude. Millions, right?
It's gotta be millions.
Gotta be millions.
So therefore, to close it, you gotta pay what? Double that, at least.
Probably close to, yeah.
I would guess it probably costs $5 to $10 mil to rent it all out, man. That's what I would guess. And what is that
Depending on the,
divided by? Let's say everyone makes 100 grand all in with comp and everything. All that's 50 jobs right there, dude. They probably could have kept 50 people
like
on.
the CMs are making a lot less than 100 grand a year. More
Yeah.
around, yeah.
I mean, with benefits and everything all included, you know, it probably.
Yeah. Maybe around, I'd say like 70. You know, be like
70
as
jobs,
like
yeah. Oh no, you're saying 70
no,
grand.
like
then.
70K a year.
Yeah,
around
support
that.
staff too. They're not. They're probably
yeah.
not making as much, right? So they could have kept on maybe 75 people, and instead they're renting out Disneyland.
So they basically confirmed no support for Classic WoW, no human support, right?
Well, little to no human support, I'd say.
This is why I think that so the whole thing with the loot trading, I don't think that's going to change because the loot trading issue basically enables is so that you don't have to contact the in-game GM to, you know, that's how it was back in the day. Oh, I accidentally gave this to somebody, they'll look into it. With loot trading, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, you know, you can deal with it yourself. So a lot of people were thinking, oh, maybe they'll take that back, maybe they'll, you know, enough people complaining. I think that's going to stay.
There you go.
So,
Garrett Bell just put up a statistic. Disneyland in one day makes $6.2 million.
6.2 mil.
Wow,
There's a
I didn't
chance
think it was that much.
they could have kept on 100 of those employees. If they're, let's say they're cheap employees, right? Like cheap employees, like you said, 50. Let's say they're 50 grand or something, or 60 grand all in a year, and they're making 6.2 mil. That's a bad look. I don't know why that's not a bigger deal isn't being made of that.
dude, like what is? I don't know. I mean, it's
60 grand. That's 103 employees. Oh my god, that's crazy. But
that's basing on an average from all 6 parks. Okay.
Okay, so maybe it was just part of it, like G-Step said. It doesn't matter. It's a waste of money. It's, you know,
Yeah.
I think that money could have been put towards something else. But the thing about loot trading is, okay, let's talk about private servers for a second.
Mhm.
If something doesn't go your way in a private server, you're pretty much shit out of luck, right? Let's say the Blackstone ring gets taken by a clothy by accident. He made an honest mistake. Are they going to give that gear back to you?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean on a private server? No.
Yeah. No. Tough shit.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be in Classic.
I mean,
the community police itself. Why are we even stepping into this? Why?
yeah. I mean, it's that whole other aspect of the hand holding. You know what I mean? What we're talking about.
Play nice, play fair, I guess.
I think the issue that, you know, with all this that we saw with you know what they talked about, and you know I understand, yeah, Blizzard hasn't been the same corporation in a while, but I think yesterday hearing that it was kind of like you said, that splash in the face. You kind of get the realization that, you know, all this hope that we had, you know, them possibly becoming you know, more in touch with the consumers, and you know, maybe this is just a really bad stage. I really feel like they're kind of digging into the whole mobile thing, to how they're, you know, how they're acting right now. You know, we looked back on the on what they did with the Heroes of the Storm people. You know, pretty much some of the shady shit like a gaming company could have done, and like telling people that, oh yeah, you know, everything's gonna be fine, you don't have to worry about this, and then coming out saying that the games, you know, the way that they're looking at things has been a lot more, you know, for the shareholders, looking at the numbers, less about the consumers, and it's becoming more and more like that. And I just thought that maybe, you know, with all this shit that happened the last couple months, that maybe Blizzard would kind of have like a wake-up call and say, okay, maybe we should be more like the old Blizzard. Maybe we should be more interactive with the community. And it seems like with this, I don't know, that's what I got from it, at least a little bit.
I think
is
the
that
issue
they're kind of digging in.
Defcamp is that you since because of the merger and since that people aren't there that used to be there, it's never going to be what it was. It's like,
I understand that.
It was like you know, before, you know, when Metallica was still in like a garage band status, and before they sold out, and they're never going to be that Metallica again. You know, they released, was it the Death Magnetic album, where it was like, oh man, it kind of sounds like the old albums. No, it doesn't. You know, it's like, I don't know.
The thing is, in the call, it were always people from Activision who were talking, and only once in a question it was actually J. Allen Brack, I think, who answered. So that suggests that Blizzard really doesn't have a lot to say in it. I mean, if only one question is answered by Blizzard employee, Yeah. Or it's not even an employee; it's the boss.
Yeah.
So, all that
But-
said,
Yeah.
right, what does this mean for Classic? What do you guys think?
So key takeaways for me, right? All right, just thinking about it as a
Yeah.
whole. They were kind of saying they had some record year, but seeing right through it, you know, people kind of see Blizzard's not culturally in a good spot with gamers. Laying off 800 people. They're talking about mobile. They barely mentioned WoW. They always lead off with talking about Call of Duty and Candy Crush and shit.
Yeah.
So like I said, splash of water in the face. I don't think in their mind they're banking on Classic, you know, turning the sinking ship around. Or maybe they are. Maybe someone in the chat said this a little while ago. Maybe it's just not smart to present Classic as that to investors. Maybe investors don't want to hear about a 14-year-old game getting re-released. So maybe low key they're secretly banking on, you know, turning it around. But you know, I wouldn't get my hopes up too much. I don't think they're hoping this is going to make some massive impact from the stakeholder perspective. That's why they're not bringing it up.
Something else which is probably important is maybe they think it will not it will not earn them a lot of money because they will not add a cash up in it. So
Well, maybe that could be a good thing. You know, if that is, you know, the way they're going to look at it. But I think that they're probably not going to make a lot of money in regards to the other games and how much they're making. Even if Classic is a huge success, it still probably won't even come close to the kind of money they're making with like Candy Crush and you know what I mean, like Call of Duty.
For way less effort, right?
Exactly. So, like, what I'm thinking is like it might be a good sign, seeing as that they might just leave Classic alone and not try to implement all these things because they'll, you know what I mean, like can you really bleed this stone any much more than it's already, that kind of thing. Or my worry, which has always been my worry, which I guess I think I worry about this a little too much because I don't want this to happen to it. Are they going to look at it in terms of we need to make more profit on Blizzard stuff and we need to do whatever we can? Let's do that by having a cash up. This is me just being paranoid, and but I didn't really hear anything like you said that were kind of made that seem like it would be true. I don't know. That's just been my worry, and it seems like as Blizzard is becoming less and less really of that company that seems like they even really give a shit about their customers.
On a more inspirational note, they're giving us Classic WoW. They're giving us Classic WoW, right? It's in our hands. And I've played a ton of games over the years, ladies and gentlemen. We all have, right? We've played Dota, StarCraft, Diablo, all the Diablos, all the Call of Duties, hundreds of games over the years. I have never seen a community like the community I've seen with Classic WoW. Swear to God. Like,
amen, yeah.
That's so true.
Why am I making content about this 14-year-old game? Why, dude? It's this game is something special to me, and it's something special to a lot of people. I've never seen the passion and love and commitment to this game that I've seen over the last couple of years, and it's the whole reason why I wanted to even make content in the first place. And we're getting it, right? So we actually have the ability to make this game highly successful, and I think it'd be even funnier, dude. It'd be more of just a funny, interesting story if we can blow this game up, dude. Like if this 14, 15-year-old game blows up and has millions of players, how awesome would that be? And,
that would be fucking awesome.
I mean, they shouldn't underestimate it because, like, let's look at the timeline already. Like, the amazing shit that's happened ever since Nost's launch. You know, if that wave continues, you know, just imagine what's going to happen. Like, you know, if Classic launches, it shatters everyone's expectations. It fundamentally changes the RPG landscape, MMORPG landscape. You know, it could happen. I believe in this game and this community. I don't believe in Blizzard. I want to just make that 100% clear. I believe in this game and I believe in the community, though. And I think it can really change things, though. It changed Blizzard's mind. You know?
Yeah.
That was when Mike was still there, sure. But, you know, money talks and bullshit.
All they got to do is they got to keep the lights on, and they don't implement flying pigs or some crazy bullshit. And we'll do the rest. We'll do the rest, Blizz. You can tap out, Blizz. Go make fucking Candy Crush 3, and go make Diablo, fucking the card game, mobile RPG, fucking battle royale game. We'll handle it from here, Blizz. Just keep the servers running. We'll be all right.
You know, that really makes me feel a lot better because like I don't know, I feel a little like sick today. I'm a little bit of like a down mood. And hearing all this news, I was kind of like down and kind of feeding into that. But you're so right, dude. Like, you know, as long as we get what we're getting, like the rest is in the community's hands. Like, we have the power to make this game everything we want it to be.
Yeah.
When the community comes together and we work together, and you know, it's us who should be the ones saying like, okay, you know, let's form a you know, a PvP group. I don't know. It's just like these ideas that I've had for like when Classic comes out. All this shit, like let Blizzard just, like you said, turn the lights on. Let us do the rest. Let us have some fan-made websites where we can coordinate stuff together. Let's us go on the forums and coordinate things together and have fun. Like that's all we need is each other, the community, the Classic WoW community. You know, let's be the advocates. Let's be the Classic WoW. What do we say, Melderon? Classic WoW
right?
Ambassadors. You know what I mean? Helping out the new people, because there are going to be a lot of new people coming. And I think we need to embrace them, and that'll make the game a lot better. So,
and because
you know what?
this is basically like art to me, dude. So we've been talking about horizontal progression for a couple weeks, right? We've been talking about that. Isn't that where they make like more expansions, but in the classic environment, right? Is that what that is? I just want to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay. So one part of me thinks that's cool, but like you said, I don't really trust Activision Blizzard, so that's sort of an option I don't even want on the table. As long as they leave the game static and they keep the lights on, we're good to go, right? They could fuck it up by doing some weird changes to it, but this makes me want to have the game be static for longer. And then it's just like a piece of art, man. Like when you fuse art with business, it starts to, you know, mess things up. But as long as we have this game and it's in this format, we can keep the artistic value there. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's why there are no changes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. The game speaks for itself. It's like it's like a cheeseburger. I mean, like, you know, you make a cheese, you get beef from the store, you mold it into a patty, you fry it on the grill, and you put a sliced cheese on a bun. It's going to be good, right? Classic WoW is like a cheeseburger. It's
with bacon.
I don't care. Like,
Classic WoW is like a cheeseburger with like 6 layers of bacon.
Yeah. It just
Simple,
speaks for itself.
Delicious.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's
really
simple and it's
American
delicious. It is very American. So, you know, you guys eat a lot of French fries. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys eat a lot of frites over there, right? So, it's like a frite.
It's Belgian, by the way. It's not French. So just
I know. I don't know why we call it French fries. It's so weird. Yeah. But
culture appropriation.
Yeah. So, shall we switch to more?
Yeah, let's do something more fun.
Subject?
I just want to say, you guys made it, to me, something negative seem a little bit more positive. So thank you. I want to, because you know what, you're damn right. Like this might be bad news for Blizzard or whatever, for Activision Blizzard, but it sounds like it could be good news for Classic. So let's leave it at that. I think that's a good note to leave it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on to Clash Fantasy here.
One more thing I want to talk about. One more thing I want to talk about. Is it possible for Classic WoW to be reacquired?
What?
Reacquired?
I was thinking about that. I know what you're going to go. I know where you're going with this. Keep going.
So let's say that Blizzard just turns into a shit show and firebombs into nothingness, like it probably will. What's to say that some independent company says, like, we want to, you know, keep WoW pure and clean and X, Y, and Z? We'll buy the intellectual property rights of Classic WoW off of you. Do you think that could happen?
It's possible. I think you could legally make it work, but this is something where, dude, this is something I thought about a while. So if you guys know about blockchain and decentralized applications and all type of stuff, I hope that one day beloved IPs are not under the ownership of one publisher or one developer who control it all. Like something like soccer, football, baseball, no one owns that shit. It's everybody's. Like everybody can play soccer. Everybody can do that. I hope that the IPs that are beloved, you know, if they IPO or something like that, maybe there's some kind of mechanism where the intellectual property rights go out to everyone who plays the game in some capacity, right? Now, there could always be some issues there where the people don't always know what's best for the game, potentially. People will say that the publishers have a better understanding. But all I know is you run into this situation time and time again for the entirety of my life where you have this amazing, awesome IP and it goes to shit as it gets corporatized and it starts to blow up and all that. So, I don't know.
So, yeah. I think it's possible, but it happened before with some big IPs like Crash Bandicoot, which is a very good example, I think, because Activision bought it. Now they basically bought it and they left it for death, so it's probably not the best example. But
the reason why I asked is because it's kind of a gray area, right? Because World of Warcraft still exists, so you'd be buying a timepiece of it, like you would. Does that make sense? You'd be buying like a portion of it. I never heard of that ever happening.
Yeah, even though it exists, it's totally different, but it still is the same IP, technically. So,
Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I just
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I mean, in the future, I think that's possible.
Dude, if I had the money, I'd buy. I would give an offer right now.
What have I said for like since I
So I was
the
like,
entirety of
Elon-
my channel? I said if I ever become an out of touch baller and I have enough money, I'm personally gonna fund WoW 2, just for the most selfish reasons ever, and just gonna re-release World of Warcraft, new game in VR. We're all running through Duskwood. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
I'd literally
first,
buy
folks.
World of Warcraft Classic and just re-release it as it was and not change a goddamn thing.
And
just,
I would launch it from 1.1. And
Yeah.
Well, let's not get into that whole debate.
Oh, come on. That's what I'm just saying. Launch it from 1.1,
Let's
baby.
crowdfund
That's
it, dude. I got $5 for it.
Yeah,
What's
I
up,
got
Chad?
a couple bucks here somewhere.
That's probably enough.
So,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
so the things we love about WoW, right? You know, we've talked about last week. We talked a lot about the class fantasy, and we got for those of you who were there, we got about halfway through. So we have how many classes left? About
Five
five.
more.
We have 5 classes. We have. Do you want to start off with Shaman, Melderon, and talk about the class
I mean,
fantasy
all right,
about
okay.
Shaman?
Well,
Yeah,
let's
so
ask
we
chat.
left-
Let's ask chat.
So we have Shaman, Priest, Paladin, Warrior, and Hunter.
Shaman, Priest, Paladin. Okay, Shaman,
Okay,
Priest.
Shaman, Priest, Paladin, Warrior, Hunter. Chat. What do you guys want to see?
And just as a little for those of you who weren't here last week, we kind of got inspired. They had this BlizzCon panel during Legion where they were talking about class fantasy, what is class fantasy, what makes a class fantasy strong, whatever. And I put these 3 categories out here: immersive gameplay, distinctive gameplay, empowering gameplay, in the hopes that we were going to go through them all and rate them. But then as we were going through it, we kind of just realized Classic is so like unbelievably well designed that like every class is just 10 out of 10. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so true.
It's true.
yeah.
I think Let's Shaman is a little bit higher than everything.
Shaman? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, seriously, count the Shaman.
Oh no, I thought you meant Shaman was a little bit better than everything else.
Shaman
That's what-
Masterclass.
No, I'm
Shaman's
talking
a
about
little
the
bit better than every other
friggin'
class.
in the chat. Okay,
All right,
so
let's talk about Shaman. Go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask non-Shaman people first. What does a Shaman mean to you?
Some
Problem is, we all watched your video and
tree hugging, totem
What?
dropping,
That's a druid.
Fucking-
Druids are tree huggers.
reincarnating, freaking Earth Mother. That's what I think.
Well, if you hear the word Shaman, what do you think of?
The elements.
I think of
for
the
me.
Tauren on the
yeah.
cliffs,
Yeah.
sprinkling the fairy dust over the land.
I think of
Really?
I mean, some kind of scientist. I think I said it last time. Who's working with the elements, and you kind of like to discover new stuff. Yeah, I have to
Okay.
think a little bit more about. But that's
Ooh.
the first thought.
I like that. Shaman is a healer of the tribe. I like that.
Mm.
RV.
I like that too. Also, could be
Yeah.
a spiritual leader. I think that's another way of looking at it. 'Cause, you
Shaman
know,
equals weed smoking.
well, yeah, that could be. Well, let's be serious. So, shaman in real life, most shaman, not all of them, but so shamanism is something that's worldwide, first of all, and we'll get into that in a second. But like, if you look at the current contemporary shamanism, like in Native American or South American cultures, they usually do imbibe drugs of some kind to either speak with the spirits or the ancestors or for some other purpose. So that's very,
Or the
very
earth
true, actually.
itself, yeah.
But I'm going to read a quote from. This is from NorseMythology.org.
Nice.
So this is
Norse,
North.
damn.
So
Norse.
shamanism, like love, is a notoriously hard word to define. Any meaningful discussion of an idea, however, depends on the idea first being clearly defined so that everyone understands exactly what is being discussed. For our purposes here, shamanism can be considered to be the practice of entering an ecstatic trance state in order to contact spirits and or travel through spiritual worlds with the intention of accomplishing some specific purpose.
Okay.
Wow,
So this
I
is,
like that.
and this is from a Norse mythology website. So you have to realize before Christianity spread from, Rome, I guess you could say, a lot of these cultures were shamanistic. You know, you hear about the Druids,
in England.
but
Yeah.
technically they were shaman. They were not Druids.
You're
You know
right.
what I mean,
And in Mongolia and, the Druids,
Oh, absolutely.
shamans, yeah.
there were shaman in Asian cultures. There were shaman in
South
every.
American, North America, yeah.
So that they're actually ubiquitous to like human cultures, depending on what time we're talking about here. So they're like the first priests you can think of, right? So
Yeah.
priests is a very different thing and more orderly. So before organized religion, so to me, it's like it's a spiritual leader. It's someone who's very intelligent, There's actually a theory in psychology called the Shaman theory, which states that, you know, people that had mental disorders back in the day, so people that had schizophrenia or something like that, probably were the shamans back then, because like they would be like so crazy, and that would be actually a thing you'd actually want in a person. That'd be a trait that we shun today, right? We shun people like that, unfortunately, when they have mental disorders. But back then, many people may have been praised for having these disorders.
I definitely would have been a shaman. Yeah,
I'm pretty shaman. I think I know a chick that's a shaman.
Anyway,
every chick is a shaman.
That's the way I look at it. But we can talk about Blizzard's, like, what is Blizzard's idea of a shaman, right? So, and what do you guys? I mean, I can talk about this all day. So you guys.
I just want to say that for all the jokes and, you know, always saying, "Oh, paladins are better than shamans" and all this, I recently have had a huge appreciation of shamans, and originally, you know, I didn't really connect too much with shamans. I felt more connected to the orderly priest or paladin type class. But when I realized just how versatile the shaman is, and when playing a shaman, you really feel like you are, this is my personal experience, you are kind of ready for anything. You can kind of call at the elements at your will to, you know, for any encounter that you're about to have. So I feel like they're very versatile in different ways that druids are. You know, druids are like the, you know, they say that, whatever that saying is, the jack of all trades and the master of none. But I feel like shamans are more so in tune with, you know, the elements, but they're in tune with, you know, they're either damage dealer, or a tank, or a healer, whatever you could say, all four things. But I feel like something special about the shaman that I didn't get with any other class, and that's the fact that when I play a shaman, no matter what kind of encounter I'm in, I always feel like I have something up my sleeve to, you know, come back at. If someone has a poison, I put poison and cleansing totem. If someone has, you know, if someone's gonna, I can kite them. There's so many options when it comes to your totems, your enhancements, your different abilities, you know, and I really felt like that was such a cool thing that I never really got about shamans. And I feel like the totem thing really threw me off when I first started playing shamans. I feel like, oh my god, there's too many totems, it's too much. But Melderon said, like, once you start looking at totems as just spells, it really made a big difference, and it really didn't make me think, you know, that shamans were like this big scary thing that I had to worry about, like all these like, totems and
Swiss Army knife almost. Like, I'm even thinking
exactly.
They use totems, they use tools as opposed to the druid. He's just like blank, and the root comes out of the ground. Like the shamans have to use these tools, like these things that they place on the ground or something.
Yes.
You know, like,
yeah.
And they have more utility. They can just pull out of nowhere. They have a little thing they can use. My question is, though, do shamans share the same spirituality as druids? I would imagine that, like, priests and paladins, they're like the Christians and the Catholics, you know. They're just like the standard
kind
of religion, you know, probably
status quo,
monotheistic type religion. But the shaman and the druid are almost like Shintoists or some kind of,
or like earth really like basically, you know.
I think the way to look at shaman is look at all the ancient religions, so like the pre-agricultural religions, you know. We're talking about like, but druidism in Blizzard is very, so they're all moon worshippers, right?
Well, the druids,
that's just the night elves.
Yeah, because the Tarans is Anshe, the sun, right?
Okay, so they do have a deity, where shamans do not have deities. They have spirits they commune with.
Right, they have spirits, and it's more of the earth itself is like.
Wait,
ancestors.
You know, so you know about the Emerald Dream, right? That's what the druids always go to. They all hang out in there and stuff. How come? So that's a real place, but the shamans don't go there as well? That seems like that would be a shaman type thing. Like, it seems like they would like the Emerald Dream. They want to go.
Well, the shamans are more in tune with the spirit world, right? Like the spirit, you remember that quest at the Maghar where you and you have to always go into like the spirit world. So I feel like the shamans are more in tune with this. Like you drink this salve and talk to so and so inside the spirit world.
Mhm.
I feel like the shamans are more in touch with the spirit world, with
And
the
with
ancestors
the raw
and
elemental
all that.
forces of nature.
And the elemental forces.
And
yeah,
while healing, I see the shaman more like they're healing from the forces of water more than the druid, which is more like healing from the force of nature
That's
itself,
true,
the
absolutely.
growths
That's true.
of plants and animals and stuff.
Because the
So-
shaman
Actually-
spells are called like wave, right? Like lesser healing
Yeah,
wave.
it's
like,
actually
the little
weird because
splash
like they
thing.
didn't change that until later. Because like you're right, Dunedain. Shaman spells should be water based,
Yeah.
but they're nature based in Classic WoW. But you're absolutely right; they should be frost because it's actually frost, not water. That's a really funny thing. I was doing my theory crafting. Like there
Healing
is no
Stream.
water element in WoW; it's frost. So healing
Yeah.
stream totem is actually a frost spell.
Wow.
Anyway, it's a frost school. So there is no water school in WoW. There's a frost school. So, but I think you're right. Shaman healing should be frost school, not nature school. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I agree
And
with
also
that.
there's a big difference in the specialization of shamans. I mean, I see shamans like some specialize in healing, so they go like for the water or the frost element, and some specialize more in damage and they go for lightning or fire element, and they try to get to know everything they can about those forces of nature, but they specialize more into one or two of the elements. That's how I see it. While the truth is always about nature or about astronomy, the moon, the sun, the stars.
That's the other thing like I noticed about shamans, right? There's, you have like the quintessential. I feel like the shaman who goes after wisdom. The spiritual healer is like the healer type shaman, right? But then in the WoW universe, right? When we're talking about WoW specifically, you have like the protector shaman. Right, and it's so cool because inside the enhancement tree, you have talents that are very protection based, like shield, specialization, toughness, things like that. So you really have the idea of this like sword and board protector type shaman, and then you have, of course, like the other two, which are the damage dealers, the enhancement and the elemental. But I really feel like the quintessential druid that we know from history would be more like the heal, but the more of the protector type shaman is more of the enhancement kind of defense, and then we all know like Thrall shaman, and like Thrall I always felt like was like a mix of enhancement and elemental in a way. Is that what else?
He's definitely a hybrid.
He's a hybrid.
Also,
right?
the shamans, this kind of speaks to the idea that they're almost more tool-based and that they have more of a identity. Druid, I just think of a druid. The druid kind of does it all. He goes in his different forms or whatever. The shamans use fire too, right? The druids don't use that.
Yeah.
Like lava bursts and stuff. That's a whole different set of
They
the
can't
Shaman
use
had
it
three
because
schools,
they would burn the trees and stuff. I would say the druid is part of nature and the shaman is using everything he can
that's a nice little
from the elements of nature.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another thing, I have a hunter on a server that will not be named, and I was running Wailing Caverns last night, and we were looking for a tank. So the group consisted of me, the hunter, a priest healer, and a shaman. And I was like, "Oh, we need a tank." So all of a sudden, I say, looking for tank, WC, blah blah blah. Shaman gets back to me and says, "I'll tank it," and I'm like, "Great." I kept my mouth shut, didn't tell him who I was. My name is not Melderon, so I was like, I didn't say anything. I was like, that would be great, dude. That'd be awesome. So he comes into the group and he killed it, dude. Killed WC. It was incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No chain lightning or anything. Just
I was
solo
so close to
lightning
be like, hey, where did you
tell
learn
him
how to
that-
shaman tank? I didn't
There's
say
shaman
anything.
tanking guy on YouTube.
No, I wanted to just have a pure experience. I didn't want to like sell it by saying, oh, hey, I'm Melderon or anything dumb like. They probably even know who I am anyway. So it was like, I enjoyed every minute of it, dude. He did a great job, and he stopped to drink maybe like in the whole dungeon maybe like 10 times. You know how big WC is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really
That's
really
awesome,
fun.
dude.
Yeah.
Like I said that before too. Like I did a BRD, and then, so you talk about early game, you talk about end game, right? I did end game dungeons. I did a BRD with a shaman tank who had the basic shaman tank gear that you can get from like end game dungeons, things like that. When I tell you, he did just as good, if not better, in some instances than a druid or warrior. He did so good, and I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was me just like reading for it, but I really honestly felt like there were some points where, you know, the DPS were doing really good at, you know, following his orders, but they really weren't taking aggro off him. Like I really feel like, especially in endgame, you know, when it comes to raiding, of course not, but I really feel like the shaman tanking thing within dungeons is really doable when you look at it in its little niche, right? You're obviously not going to be doing MC, you know, BWL with shaman tank, but when it comes to like dungeon tanking, it's definitely doable as a shaman. It really is. I don't know. I think so.
It's probably, for the very, very early dungeon, it's probably even better than the paladin tank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because Earthshock, dude, like Earthshock at max rank, like when you need it, it has so much threat, and you know, it's like we talked about John's stats to this when we talked to him. Were shamans supposed to be designed as tanks? And he was like, from what I know, but you know, why do they have all these like tanking like talents and abilities? You know, is there any other class that isn't a tank that has a such a threat working ability like Earthshock?
I mean, it's a 2x threat multiplier. I don't. It's a very high. That's a very high threat multiplier. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure there's. I think Shield Slam has a really high one too.
Druids
What I'm saying, like, non-tanking. What I mean, like,
Oh, a non-tanking class.
Yeah,
2x modifier? No, I don't think so.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What about Mind Blast? Priest?
I'm not
sure.
I don't know if it's 2x.
me check Teledril's guide real quick.
but
Rogue Strike generates a lot of threat.
I think that's just 1x.
Rogue Strike has a fixed amount per rank. Yeah, but I'm trying to think.
Rogue
what,
Strike.
Yeah, let me look at Teledril's guide. You guys keep talking.
One thing I'm
we can
thinking,
move on.
so is Shaman to Druid as Warlock is to Mage?
Hearing.
And the reason why I say that is because you don't really see dark Magi, but you do see, you know, dark evil Warlocks. You don't really see evil Druids, but you see some dark Shamans, like some kind of evil Shamans. Shamans are using fire, whereas Warlocks use fire as well, and the Mages... Okay, mages
Have you heard
use
of the
fire.
Druids of the Fang?
Yeah.
Okay, were those Wailing Caverns weirdos? Yeah, that's true.
those are
They're
bad druids.
evil?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there was
that's
the
true.
ones in the Cataclysm, the fire druids were the druids of the
Druids
flame.
of the Flame.
Druids of
Yeah,
Flame.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so you're right, Dunedain. Mind Blast is a 2x multiplier as well.
Oh, it is 2x. Okay,
Yeah.
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 So yeah, that's interesting.
Really interesting.
So, but then
So
you
is
also
Searing Pain and Warlocks.
yeah. So I forgot about Warlocks, but so then you have that 2x multiplier, but then you also have Rockbiter. So that's
Yeah, Rockbiter as
yeah,
every hit has additional
Yeah.
threat.
yeah, and then
It
On top
definitely
of that-
feels like they were meant to be a soft tank, at least, in
Yeah.
my opinion. But
Yeah.
I suppose, what was his name again? John Stats didn't know all about the class design, I suppose.
yeah, his was more dungeon design. So
Yeah.
you know you can't really.
Yeah, I asked him.
yeah.
I think you remember. I asked him, were shamans ever supposed to be? And he said no. He said
Yeah.
past level. I think he said past sunken temple, but they are not supposed to be able to vibe.
Yeah.
But they do. They tank. They tank down
Right.
past sunken temple.
Yeah.
Fine. And the thing, you know, someone pointed out a good player is a good player, and that's I want to point that out as well. What I can guarantee you is that, almost guarantee you, is that if someone's actually putting their neck out to tank as a shaman, they've researched it, probably more than a warrior has. Just saying, because most of the times you're like, "Hey, warrior, can you tank?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll throw on a shield and tank." You know what I mean? It's not. Whereas the shaman is like
Throw some
making a
thunders
conscious
and-
decision. I'm gonna type in, "I will tank this dungeon" in the chat. Like that takes a lot of, you know what, balls, man. I think,
Yeah.
but that's just
Okay.
me.
It's true.
So we can move
yeah, I
on
think
to
we covered
the
Shaman
next
pretty good.
class.
Okay,
Yeah.
what do you guys want to see next? We got Priest, Paladin, what else? Priest, Paladin, Warrior,
Warrior,
and
Hunter.
Yeah.
What do you guys want next?
So Priest, Paladin, Warrior,
Paladin,
Hunter. Priest,
Warrior,
Hunter,
Rally,
yeah. So we
War,
got two-
Hunter. Choose one. Choose one, bros. Maxwell Palmer in the chat. What's up, Ripper?
So let's see. Melderon,
Max in the chat, man. We go way back. We played actual
That would be
vanilla
awesome.
together. That guy, man. We played. Shout out
And-
Dark Iron Ripper.
Melderon, we should do that, and I'll heal you.
Yeah, I just,
we'll have you tank and MC. I'll heal. Yeah, that'd be great.
Tetragrammaton.
So far, it looks like
Hunter versus Paladin.
Hunter, Pally.
Let's see here.
Let's go Hunter first.
Looks like Hunter to me. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, it looks like Hunter
Yeah,
to
Hunter.
me.
Let's
Did
do
we
Hunter.
not do Hunter? I
No,
love
we
Hunter. I
talked
can
a little bit about
okay.
Hunter when we were talking about like, oh, is Robin Hood more like a hunter or a rogue? We mentioned them, but we didn't go into them.
Okay, this is one I feel qualified talking about. So
Absolutely.
all right, dude. I love the Hunter ethos. Let me just put that out there. I love everything about the Hunter. I love the colors of the Hunter. I love how you're green. I love how you're out in nature, but you're not, you know, you're just like a self-reliant kind of independent trapper guy. You're out there, just you and your dog, chilling out in the forest. You got traps. You're trapping stuff. You're skinning stuff. I like being able to deal damage from range. Not put yourself needlessly into harm's way. You have both melee abilities and ranged abilities. I think the hunter class is just so incredibly flavorful. Everything from feeding your pets to stocking up with ammunition, making sure your ammo and your gear is good to go. Just the idea that you're self-reliant and independent, and that you can take care of business by yourself. You don't necessarily need anyone else there to heal you or hold your hand. You can farm gold hyper efficiently by yourself. You can hold your own in PvP. I love the idea of kiting. Dealing physical damage is another thing that I generally prefer over magic damage. Man, the different pets you can tame, keeping your pet relevant, keeping your pet happy. I'm a big lover of dogs and animals. I got 2 dogs, as you guys all know. So hunters to me, badass too. They look badass. Like, just the animations look sick. You're using bows and guns. You know, you're dual wielding if you need to. I don't know.
It's the best sounding game, obviously. The bow sound.
That's a great sound.
Part,
Yeah. And yeah, from a fancy perspective, Hunter is probably in my top 2.
Wow.
I love the nature classes. Yeah, I have a hard time deciding between nature classes and the paladin fantasy.
Yeah.
But
let's say
let me tell you guys. What are you saying?
I think people are getting mad at this.
Well, I'm going to say something too that people are getting mad at. So, I have an issue when I know you're going to say Melderon, so I'm going to stay more towards class fantasy, right?
Okay.
So when I when I think of a hunter, even before the WoW hunter, like, I want to be able to play the quintessential archer, right? I'm like, oh, when I first looked at the hunter, I'm like, oh, cool, I get to use it, right? So I'm thinking, I'm going to be using a bow and being like the Legolas type person. But when I played a hunter, I felt like more of a secondary to my pet than anything.
Okay.
I felt like my pet was the
star of the show,
and I felt like I'm just there for the ride. And that's what I don't like about hunters. And I understand a lot of people like that. I personally, like, when I play a ranged class, even if it's a mage, a priest playing shadow, I still feel like I'm the star of the show. But when I'm playing a hunter, I wish in vanilla there was an option where you could do like the lone wolf type thing.
What I will say though,
but end game wise, don't you like to go away from beast mastery?
You do.
Yeah,
and a lot of the times it's not advantageous for your pet to even be attacking your opponent. You're going to be giving them free rage or reckoning stacks or whatever. So a lot of the times you're just keeping your pet by you. I will say that the playstyle changes a bit once you get to 60 and you're fighting.
Yeah, and that's, for me, it was just like I've leveled hunters, but I never got to the max level. I've had a hunter like level 55. Like, I always couldn't get past the fact that it felt to me, for the whole leveling experience, that my pet was more of the star of the show than I was. And that, for me, just when it comes to class fantasy, wasn't my thing. But I understand for people who love it. Just for me, never really felt
That's my favorite type of hunter too. The idea where you're attuned with the beast. I love that talent. What is it? What is one where you Spirit Bond. Too bad it sucks though. It's very underwhelming kind of. But I remember still back in the day, back in retail vanilla, choosing that, and I love that idea of being able to share, the damage with your pet. You're kind of connected with your pet. I don't know. I love that. But some people don't like the pet classes.
I have to agree with Defcamp a little bit. I would prefer to be able to not have pets in vanilla, but for me, hunter is not really only a ranged class. I always saw hunter more like both actually, ranged and actually maybe even more melee. I like the fancy of the traps and hiding in the bushes, placing a trap, then shooting at something so it gets to the trap and that kind of stuff. And also, my favorite character probably in Lord of the Rings, which is Aragorn, is for me what the hunter should be. The melee hunter should be.
Melee hunter. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say Legolas, and you know,
Yeah,
and they name their character something like Legolas or something like that. And it's,
yeah, I rather think of Aragorn. Both actually. Legolas is like the ranged hunter, and Aragorn is like the ranger, but that's a hunter.
Another thing, if I was hypothetically, in World of Warcraft, right now I'm transported, I'm dropped into WoW, and I had to actually sit there and think about how I was going to kill someone, Hunter would be my preferred kit, dude. I would like to shoot a bow and arrow at them, or I wouldn't want to run up in their face and smash them with a hammer, dude. That sounds like a mess. That sounds like unneeded risk. You know what I mean? You're just putting
chain lightning.
You're putting yourself at unnecessary risk, getting up in melee range like that, getting cleaved down. I'd want to be in the bushes with a bow and then just setting up an ambush and just letting them rip. And then as they come to me, you know, feigning into a trap.
Cowardice to me, but you know.
Dealing damage precisely like a little sniper up on the apex of a hill. You know, just shooting down the hill. That's how I would do it. But Melderon would be casting chain lightning.
No dual wield combat.
Coward.
Only range combat for you, Kargoz?
Only if I had to. So if they do close the distance, yeah, we're pulling out the Bowie knife and we're getting down to business. You know what I mean? But up until that point, I'd like to prefer to be, you know, kiting people around and shooting them. You know, that just seems like the safest, best, most tactical line of play.
Yeah.
Boring.
Right, so let me. So okay. I think the class fantasy. I agree with Kargoz is awesome. I think that running around with your pet, you know, being able to shoot while like mining and having the pet take care of things, going into melee and like hitting with. I like dual wielding as a hunter, so I have two swords and I'm like bang bang, you know, all that stuff.
Bang.
It's great, but it's friggin' easy mode, dude. I know people are gonna hate me for that, but like,
tell them what you told me, Melderon.
Dude, okay. So first of all, like I'm just able to mow through everything. Like so. Honestly, and this is going to sound horrible, it's like playing retail, okay? I sick my pet out, I just mow shit down. Then I was in Asherville last night, hiding behind trees, just killing people left and right. So like, I was just sitting behind a tree, set my pet out, and the poor mage is like trying to get the pet off, and I'm just like, bong, 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 just like annihilating people, dude. I mean, I love it, I'm having a great time playing it. I'm not saying I don't like the class. I'm just saying that leveling. I'm not talking about PvE endgame. I'm not talking about mastering it. I'm talking about from a guy who's just started playing a hunter. It's very easy. Yep. That's all I'm trying to say.
A lot of creature comforts, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what, though? That's the beauty about Classic is, like, where hunters are amazing at endgame and PvP, like, they kind of fall off when it comes, like, to the PvE aspect of DPS when it comes to other straight just DPS classes. Like, that's what I love about Classic is, you know, you might really excel at one thing, but you're not going to excel at everything, you know, and that's
yeah. And endgame is where they really kind of suffer. But I feel very powerful, very powerful.
You are very powerful
as a hunter. Yeah.
I love the idea too, where people can't run away from you as a hunter. They can't fucking run away from you.
They can't.
They're just permanently concussive shotted. Dude. Like they're not running away from you. You're the type of class where you can take on multiple targets. It's not just like one and done. A lot of times you'll take on one and then you're not in a position to fight another one. If you're good enough and you can out finesse them, you can stay at range. You can kite people indefinitely. You know, ranged, mobile, damage dealer. Man, I don't know. Just love it. Just love it.
So what video characters do you think of?
Which characters?
Film, movie characters.
I mean, besides Legolas.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I have trouble finding someone that's like more like a
Robin Hood.
But we said rogue. Remember?
Oh yeah, he's more of a rogue. That's true.
I mean, I think of snipers, dude. I think about American snipers. Dude.
Yeah, snipers.
There we go. Okay.
It's said you got your spotters, your beast. You know, you're out there and you're just in a ghillie suit out in the bushes, and you're just taking them out.
Yeah.
They're more of like a canine cop, though.
That's true, but that's even better, dude. That's even better.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Did you ever play Guild Wars 2?
I
played for like 2 months with Max the Ripper in the chat. What's up, man?
Yeah, same. I think the Ranger in Guild Wars 2 was, in a fancy way, pretty good. I mean, I would be happy if WoW Hunter would be like the Guild Wars 2 Ranger. But I'm happy with WoW Hunter as well. Just saying.
My only quarrel too is like I always wanted to be like a ranger, like Sylvanas
Park
or
ranger.
no, like a park ranger. Ooh, park ranger.
Oh, you want to be a park ranger? I get it.
I did want to be a
Airborne
park
That's
ranger.
ranger.
why I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, like I always wanted to be like the ideal ranger, like Sylvanas or what was his name? Her champion. I forget his name right now.
Thanos white collar.
Thanos, yeah. So I always wanted to be like that ideal ranger, but they didn't have pets, you know. I don't know. I can't get like I like the pet thing. I do when I play it, but then a lot of times I feel it's too much. They're kind of the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
an option to not have a pet would be great.
Yeah.
I just
But I
can't
do like-
think of a cooler scenario in my mind. Out of all IPs and everything, to me, this is as good as it gets. A man and his dog, simple, out in the wilderness, forced to survive. You got a bow on your back, you got a Bowie knife on your leg, and you have to go make shit happen. You have to go build a shelter.
I agree.
You have
Class
to go,
fantasy is great.
Yeah.
That's it.
I 100%
So-
agree with you.
It's like the girl from the Hunger Games, Katniss.
Yep.
That's a hunter.
She's a hunter. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. She's a hunter.
What about Rambo? Is Rambo a hunter, kind of,
I think Rambo's a warrior.
or a rogue maybe? Yeah.
Rambo's probably a
I just think about
Rambo's
when he's in the
a rogue.
woods and he's like, hiding up in the tree, and yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there's scenes where he's like a hunter, sure,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
but I think the whole class fantasy of being a loner too, like that is being being able to like get just you're so self sufficient. Like I was like, soloing like world elites in Wailing Caverns last night because I had to get that 99-year-old port and everyone left. So I soloed my whole way through that, like no problem. You know, like that's so powerful.
Some people like working in a team dynamic, right? Some people work better solo. I generally work better solo. When I'm working in teams, sometimes it's just a little bit less efficient. So if you like doing stuff yourself, and you live that too, even at 60, you're just in Marathon by yourself, getting to go by yourself. You don't have to hit anyone up. You control your income.
Yep.
You just go get that money. Like
I look out. Bert Ulf said, "You dismiss it." LOL. Bert, have you ever tried dismissing your pet while leveling? It's not very. It's not very good. You end up pretty much dying. So yeah, it's like when you don't have your pet in like a leveling scenario and you're killing more than one mob or even one mob sometimes. And like, what is it about hunters too? I feel like when they get in melee range, they get hit way because do they not have as much dodge and parry as like
They
other
don't have
classes? I don't know
parry.
what
They
it,
don't have parry.
They don't have parry, right?
I don't think
I
so.
feel like I get destroyed when I'm being meleeed as a hunter, and I guess you're leather, but later on male. But yeah, when you don't have your pet, like the leveling 1 through 10, I know you love that.
I love it.
Kargoz.
I'm fast with it.
Oh, that was the worst experience I ever had in Classic WoW. Was 1 through 10.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's so easy,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Under 2 hours, easy clap.
That boost from leather to male, it's something I look forward to as well all the time.
Yeah.
Same if I play a warrior or a paladin.
I think that's a little OP. I think they should never be able to wear mail.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I gotta agree
mean-
with that. Yeah, because
I mean,
like you
God,
shouldn't be
I
getting
mean,
hit as like.
And you're gonna give them more armor? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just kind of. I always thought that was kind of gimped. That's just me.
Yeah,
But-
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, you get
power
parried in
in
the survival tree. Thank you. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I get
honestly,
it. I know
just
what you
learned-
mean. He died
yeah.
a lot. That's exactly what it's like.
I mean,
without the pet.
So
But yeah,
real quick before. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for downsides, it seems like I'm just talking about all the great things about Hunter over and over again. There are some downsides to Hunter. It's
They're not
mainly in raids. You have to work harder than a lot of other people. You have to manage your pet. You have to manage your dead zone. You have 2 versions of your rotation. You're not even necessarily in a position where you're topping the meters, and that's like an acquired taste over time. When you first start playing WoW, you want to top the meters, get the highest parse, get the highest parse. You do that for a couple expansions, and it gets old. You kind of realize like it's not the end of the world, but having to work a little bit harder gets annoying. Whereas some people are just clicking one button. You're kind of jelly of that. The idea where people keep throwing it in your face, hunters are dog shit, they don't scale well, in PvE. And if you're mainly concerned with PvE and raiding and stuff, that could be a legitimate concern. PvP though, awesome. I don't know.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
anyway,
before we transition, can we do that thing for Shaman? Like, who?
Oh, yeah.
What celebrities?
Oh yeah, yeah.
would be a shaman?
Who do you see as a shaman? Yeah.
Um.
I can't think of it.
I mean, besides like
you know what?
every Native American character in every movie.
But
I don't know.
So I read up on a thing. So here we go. This was a Nightwolf from Mortal Kombat.
Huh.
All of the So if you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender,
yes.
I would definitely see the Airbenders as shaman.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. I know what you're talking about.
When the Fire Nation.
All the people from Avatar, that movie, dude, they're all probably there may be druids.
Oh,
No, don't talk about the movie. Don't talk about the movie. Don't talk about the movie.
Yeah.
Dude, they're kind of like night elf druids though. They're blue.
MacGyver on acid is a shaman.
MacGyver on acid.
I wonder what those are.
Oh, dude, I'm using that in my next video, dude. Oh my god, I'm gonna put a picture of MacGyver with like a bunch of acid like tabs like underneath them.
Oh god, that's pretty funny. Yeah, so I have trouble trying to think of like you said, other than like Willie Nelson could be a shaman.
Willie
Johnny
Nelson.
Depp.
Oh,
Are they just thinking about stoners now, like stoners, like.
William Shatner. Yeah, William Shatner's obviously a shaman. That's true.
Oh yeah, William Shatner's a shaman. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like
Are
any,
witches
like,
are
wise
witches
old-
shamans? Witches are kind of shamans.
Oh
Witches
no,
are like warlocks, right?
Yeah,
No,
or mages.
witches are closer to warlocks or mages than
Or
shamans.
mages, yeah.
Because I'm thinking about like Wiccan people.
Oh, you're thinking of like witch doctors.
Because yeah,
That's what
like
you're thinking
they
of.
use I don't know.
You know who could
I
be
think
a
a
shaman?
witch doctor is an evil shaman, personally. Not evil.
Yeah, witch doctor.
In
well,
classical fantasy,
you
I
know who
think
could
the
be
witch
a-
doctor is the evil.
Okay.
you know who could be a shaman? Even though he's kind of more like a mage, Raiden. He shoots lightning bolts out of his.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like any Sith Lord.
How's a Sith Lord a shaman?
Because you have your weapon
Oh, the
and
light-
you also
the
shoot
lightning?
lightning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chain lightning.
know,
True.
Yeah.
True.
There
No,
you
I
go.
think you're onto something with the witch thing, Kargoz. When you think about like a witch doctor, like a witch doctor and shaman in like real world are synonymous terms. They're both they're basically the same thing.
They use
But it's weird 'cause-
nature and
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of times witch doctors have like more like in WoW are more
Or
sort of
usually
like
evil,
shadow priests,
more evil
like-
aligned.
Yeah.
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 I can only think of those documentaries about Native Americans and stuff.
Yeah, that's all I think about is Native Americans. Like
Yeah.
every like wise Native American character in any movie, I'm like that's basically a shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do we got next? Paladin, warrior. and what
Paladin,
else?
priest, warrior.
Paladin, priest, warrior.
Yeah.
Of those three, only one are worth talking about.
Nobody's saying priest. Everybody wants to go paladin or. Yeah, I got it. You know, priest is a hard one. We'll get. Yeah. Warrior.
Well,
Fast.
warrior.
Warrior. Paladin. Rafiki from Lion King.
From Lion King. Dude, these are great, dude.
Warrior.
These are so good.
Warrior.
Look,
Paladin.
I'm gonna
Paladin.
ask you
Priest.
Priest.
Let me. I see more warrior. I think.
Yeah, warrior.
Put him out for warrior. Okay.
Who said MacGyver on acid? Oh my god.
That was. I think that was. 1 sec. I'll find out. Hold on.
All right, warrior it is. Who's starting
Warrior.
off? Kick it off, someone.
It was Bert. It was.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's get Takanashi in here.
Well, warrior. I kind of like the fantasy, but I kind of don't like to play the class. But that's something different. When I think of warrior, it's like every character in movies I really like Gladiator or The Last Samurai or those kind of movies. So you're basically the big fighter. I kind of see warriors mostly like fighters and not as much as tanks, and they try to get super skilled in man-to-man combat. Yeah, I mean that's there's a big difference with paladins in that they are not like those proud guards or something. They're just really fierce fighters. That's basically it, and that's a really simple fantasy, but something medieval and something I kind of like in a fantasy RPG. Yeah.
Yeah, I think warrior is very. It's almost kind of easy when you think about it too, because like you're right, warrior, you have your quintessential, obviously, your damage dealers. Anyone, like you said, for some reason, one of the first people that popped up for me was Worf from Star Trek, because I see him as like kind of like or Gimli, yeah. But I like to think of like the honorable warrior, right?
Yeah.
Like the person who goes out into war and is, you know, has a code to fight by, right?
Have no honor.
Exactly, right? So like that to me is like an orc warrior. I guess like would be war. But when I think of like the warrior for WoW, I think of someone that has a code, a fighting code. Dakin is another great warrior. Yeah.
But
Dakin.
I think warriors have the most shallow class fantasy because
they kind of do
applicable to real life.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
right?
do you think of a barbarian as well, or do you think about like warrior?
Okay, if I want to stretch out, yeah, I'd say like Conan or something, or you know.
Right, but that's more like a berserker, I guess, because you can even think of the specs, right? Because you can think a fury warrior would be more like Conan, right? And for me, like an arms warrior, I don't know, I feel would be more like a maybe more like a war. And then you have your defensive warrior, right? That would be more like.
Sort of board. Captain
Captain America.
Captain America is a paladin. He's a friggin' paladin.
Yeah. I was gonna say like King Arthur or
King Arthur. Yeah.
By the way, I said warriors are medieval, but I now I think of it, it's more like older, like Roman.
It spans all time.
Yeah, medieval. I think more of paladin, and warrior I think more older. Yeah, but it's definitely all time periods.
There's a certain almost like I don't know, kind of swag or appeal to kind of how crude and simple and timeless it is, though. Like when I think warrior, I think of like infantryman. I think of grunt, someone no bullshit, no magic, you know, nonsense, just in the fray, taking the hits, you know, and they have a little bit of prestige and mystique for being that, you know, just that, I don't know, kind of fearless and just being able to get in the fray, whereas opposed to some people are, you know, maybe not hard enough to take those hits or whatever.
Peasants with weapons.
Rocky's a good warrior.
Yeah, we talking about what that?
We talking about taking it to the zoo.
Balboa. Yeah, but so another thing is too, I don't know. So if you guys were in WoW, does it appeal to you? Because I think some people, like for example, my friend Jose, I never understood him really. Like he's European, he's from Portugal, and maybe his cultural differences or whatever. But he always wanted the light armor. He always wanted to be dexterous and light. You know, he would always want to just, you know, leather appeals to him the most because he values the speed and the finesse. For me, I always gravitated towards heavy armor. I liked having heavy armor on, and if you know, I think if I was back in the day, I would be rocking heavy armor.
I like to wear dresses.
But some people like the lighter armor, is what I'm saying. But so that appeals to me about a warrior. You know, having protective plates on and having that good defense and sacrificing some speed in order to gain toughness and durability.
That's what I like about a paladin and how I see a paladin. Just what you describe. The light armor is exactly what I think of when I think of a warrior. So yeah, I can see what he's saying.
It's interesting, you know, because you really get all the different play styles. You get that warrior that's level 60 who's wearing mostly leather, you know. Yeah, I think the really cool thing about Warrior 2 that you can really get with that fantasy is you can really visualize yourself, even like yourself as being a warrior, right? Because there's no magic spells really. There's nothing that you can't really do. So even if you see yourself, like if a lot of people have trouble looking at, you know, the class fantasy, oh well, you know, in real life I don't have magic, I don't have this, I have this. If I were to go out in the world and be a badass dude with a sword or whatever, like that would be me. So you kind of have that class fantasy of it being a little bit more realistic, and I think that has that appeal to a lot of people because they could see themselves as this warrior, right? There's really no far stretch. Like if you know, you were born a couple hundred years ago, you very much could have been something similar to this. You know, I mean, other than being able to charge like really fast and do, you know, little things like that. Like, everything else you can pretty much do in real life. So
but I have something to admit.
Understand that appeal.
I have something to admit about warriors, and this happens, and Defcamp knows this happens to me all the time. I overestimate their abilities because so hold on.
Especially when you have me with you.
Yeah, endgame warriors are incredible. I'm not saying they're not. Okay, they are an incredible class. However, when you're leveling, you kind of get this false kind of like, I can do whatever I want. I'm a warrior, and you charge in and get annihilated by like 2 mobs, and it's like, fuck, you know. And that happens to me a lot, and I think that I get this false sense of like I'm really, really powerful at low level when you're really, really not. It's kind of funny.
And I gotta say, warriors have like the worst class quests. Other than no, I'm sorry.
Oh, they're so funny, dude.
Some of them are really cool, like the whirlwind axe and all that. But I remember when Melderon was leveling him on Alliance, they gave him literally like an hour to go inside of a cave. Like, how dumb do you think people are playing the warrior class? They literally gave him an hour to find a cave. Like, that was in the middle of like the Red Ridge Mountains. So they go to this cave, and then that was it. That was the quest. He had an hour.
It literally took us like 3 minutes to do, front and back, and it gave us an hour to do it.
But did you look it up though? Did you look it up at all?
No.
You didn't have to, right?
Okay.
Imagine being in 2004 and not having anything, and you're just
but imagine
being
in 2004 and
go to this cave, like the name of the cave. You know what I mean?
Oh,
okay, fine, yes.
Imagine being in 2004 and doing the Paladin quests where you get the hammer, where you have to look at all the different dungeons you have to find out you have to go to, like that. You know, those things. Like there were other quests out there that were much more, a lot more shit that you had to do than going into a cave. And like it even said north of Red Ridge or something like that. It was like there was only one cave there and that was it. And I'm like, oh god, we got to do this warrior quest. And he's like, oh, I'm done. I'm like, are you serious? Is that how dumb they think warriors are? That they have to
compared to druids, man. Druid aquatic form.
Or shaman water.
I know where Dunedain stands on this, but think about this. So Melderon and Defcamp, would you rather be fast and light? Okay, fast and light, but at the cost of armor and durability. Is that cooler to you, or is it being heavy, slow, kind of, heavy, slow, but you have more protection and stuff like that? I think that those are two valid lines. I don't know.
I think you're basically comparing rogues to warriors, but I think that I'd rather be a warrior. I'd rather be heavy armor. I mean that's not entirely true because Fury warriors can wear like leather, and I think it'd be much more light armored and still do a lot of damage. So,
yeah, it's weird because like I definitely feel at times I gravitate more towards the heavy armor, but then at other times I gravitate towards the light armor. So for me, it's kind of I like kind of a mix of both.
Because I could see people who love Legolas and stuff, right? He's dancing around all the heavy armored orcs and finding the weak spots in their armor and just shanking them real quick. Like he's super light, doing little backflips and shit, like jumping off elephants and stuff. Like, that's kind of cool. I could see that. I could see why people might like that. But
But then again, there's something awesome about an orc in decked out in plate armor, running at you with a two-handed mace.
Yeah,
like
a Teutonic Knight on like a battle charger in full chainmail. That's I don't know. That's badass.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Ash, they are saved. We'll explain where to get the streams at the end. I'll stream.
Dunedain's channel.
We do a really bad job of telling people that. So it'll be on Dunedain's channel, ClassicWow.live YouTube channel, and also on Defcamp Melderon TV's podcast. So it'll be in 3 places. Anyway, so
I'm just going to say I definitely gravitate towards heavy armor. You know that, Kargoz?
You said Paladin, right? So I would assume that you're kind of in the same boat. Paladin's even more of an extreme than Warrior, though, because you actually have healing potential, very defensive, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'd say Paladin,
But I love characters like Gladiator, so that's more like low armor, good fighting skills. That's what I see when I play a warrior.
I also want to get a sense of where you guys stand when it comes to actually what kind of weapons you would actually use. Would you prefer to use a two-hander right now? Like if you had to go to battle right now, would you pick up a two-hander?
Sword and board.
Sword and board? Or would you dual wield?
Mace, I guess.
Okay.
As a warrior, dual wield. As a paladin, two-handed mace.
Okay.
Sword and board
I'd
for
use
me.
a two-hander.
I'm saying right now, like as a human being right now. Like
right now, as a human being, I'm a big fucking dude. Give me a giant fucking two-handed mace or a two-handed axe.
Okay, so you're going two-handers.
Probably pick a bow.
Pick a bow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. So we're talking about melee weapons first, though. And are you picking up a dagger? Are you picking up a sword, a club, or a spike flail, or some kind of like?
I got my Roman sword right here.
Nice, dude. That's a little. What do they call those, man?
Gladius.
Gladius.
Yeah.
So I would either do an axe or a sword and board, and here's why: an axe. Axes are if it's a double flanged axe, has a shape like this.
Yeah.
you can get that axe in someone else's shield and pull it down. You know what I mean? It kind of doubles as like a wrench, not a wrench,
Yes.
but like, you know what I mean? You
I
can
know.
actually like, so you can, you know, I don't know. I think axe is really good, but if I'm gonna do classic, I do sword and shield. Absolutely.
This guy in the chat says wand is for real, man. He's like Expelliarmus. And fucking that might be the play, man. Okay, so you're going axe. What about you, Defcamp?
Either axe or sword, yeah.
So you're going shield though, shield and sword.
Oh, definitely
shield and axe. Shield and
absolutely.
axe.
Because
Okay.
Defcamp's gonna wind up that big hit. I'm gonna block it and stab him in the ribs.
Yeah, right. I'm just gonna bash you. You're gonna I have a two-handed fucking mace, right? And he's just gonna go flying, fucking. I'm gonna hit him like a baseball, fucking home run with his ass. Why? He's got a sword and a shield. Yeah.
What about you,
that's
Def? So you said one-handed. What do you want? Two-handed. You went two-handed. What? A mace?
Oh, I'm getting a fucking two-handed mace. Like a two-handed fucking mace is gonna crack some skull.
You think
That's
a
what I'm
mace?
doing.
You know how hard that would be
Dude.
to kill someone with a mace? Like you're just like
I'm a big
crushing
dude.
them.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing about maces, you can break armor with maces. You
Exactly.
can really
Like
yeah.
I'm talking about penetration. Like I'm all about penetration, baby.
That,
You know.
that deep Defcamp penetration. Are you
Yeah,
getting little
so-
spiky shards and nails in your mace? Like, do you put little nails
Dude,
sticking
it's a
out of
giant,
it?
Like, let me show you. No, it's just a giant fucking square, heavy ass mace. That's just
Like a
bashing
2x4 with a nail in it?
I mean, literally picture this, right? Like a giant. And get my fucking guitar right here. Like a giant fucking. Just bashing the fucking head with it.
Okay, I like it, dude. I like it. I like that. I like that. What about you, Dunedain?
I think a sword and maybe something like a dagger or a torch even.
A torch?
Yeah.
You gonna blind him to death?
I know. I'm just envisioning Aragorn in that scene.
But are you gonna carry around a shield while in a
No,
battle?
I'd rather pick a fast dagger and a sword.
Okay. Fast dagger and a sword. So you kind of like dual wielding. Interesting. Okay.
You gotta put this on stream, Kargoz. I found a picture of Defcamp.
Where? Let me see.
No, dude. How do I do it? I gotta put this up there. Can you see this, chat? Let me
Fuck
see.
you. That's not me.
I have to drag it now. Let me try and drag it up.
Oh, that's funny.
It's actually not
Oh,
Defcamp. It just
God.
looks like him.
Oh, that's funny. I can't do it. That is hilarious, though. So yeah, someone said it. John Kevin. If it was me in battle, I would have one of those long 300 spears and the shield, because I would prefer, if I had to melee, to do a long stabbing motion like this, like rather than have to get up and close. If you get up and close, I think that's kind of lights out, dude.
Spear and shield. That's
yeah, spear and shield. Like you just go for the thrust with the shield up.
You got the length, dude, and nothing's hitting you with that. Like I know a lot of people who play Dark Souls with a spear and shield because like it's impossible to get hit. It's kind of boring a little bit, like in my perspective, because you're not really like you're kind of just really playing defensive. I like to play offensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so
all right.
what about ranged weapons?
Ranged weapons. I mean, I just have to have an AR-15 or an M4 or something. Obviously, like a gun would be the best, but I guess we're gonna take out gun, even though guns are in WoW, right?
Yeah. But a bow is like super heroic. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you guys prefer physical damage or magical damage? If you had to
it's
actually use this damage, like we're talking.
I think the reason I'm a shaman is because I like both.
Like in real life, you mean?
In real life,
Whoa.
like let's say tomorrow you have to go actually wage war out in some giant field, and you have access to.
Yeah, I'm using a giant fucking warhammer. That's what I'm using.
All right.
I think I would go gravitate towards magic damage.
Oh, okay. You mean like if we had the choice to pick like magic damage?
Yes, I'm curious. What
Oh,
type of
absolutely
damage style is more attractive to you? Is kind of would you gravitate to?
I think it would be like big fireballs. So
Honestly, I like the mix of magic damage and weapons. So like
That's
a
why I
paladin
like shaman.
Yeah, that's
and
shaman.
or shaman, yeah. So I like the mix between like I would love to have a giant two-handed warhammer and also be able to use spells.
Well, imagine having that giant warhammer and flames running around,
Yeah. Yeah.
or ice, or wind fury.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
crazy would that be?
Yeah, that's why paladins and shamans right now for me are I'm really as far as my total overall class fantasy would be more like a rep paladin.
For me, I mean, I'm more attracted. I think the physical damage is cooler, but if I had to actually go out there and implement this damage, dude, it would be magic all the way. It was just safer that way. You can just freeze everyone and run away, dude, if you have to. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, next episode, guys, we're gonna do some IRL LARPing.
Hell
with, with Docking.
IRL LARPing.
And us. All right, so we done warrior.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got 2 left, right? Priest and paladin. The two best classes.
I'm gonna leave. See you guys.
The holy light. Shut up. You like priest, right? I mean,
they're okay.
All right, so priest or paladin? Which guys do you want first? Which of the 2 light bringers would you rather see? Priest or pally?
The main heroes of Warcraft.
Yep.
Like how the chat's silent. It's good.
The true heroes of Warcraft.
Priest,
yeah, we got priest, paladin, pally. Now everybody at once. Save the best for last. Exactly. Paladin. So we got 3 paladin to 2 priest so far.
Paladin. Okay.
Shaman, priest. Oh, we got
priest is catching up a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's see the next one. Next one picks it.
Next one after Kevin.
All right.
Paladin. Dunedain special, man. Kick it off, man.
Okay. Yeah. A lot has been said about Paladin in the previous part. So basically, the fancy I'm attracted to in the Paladin is the heavy armor, the very shiny armor. So I think of it more like the medieval style, like I said, where you are like the more important part of the army. So the commander or something like that. I don't know. And they are kind of slow, like you said, and they sacrifice the speed for more armor, more protection. And then another big part of the paladins is obviously the holy part. The holy part, I can see paladins without holy as well, so both are fine to me. But if I think of a holy paladin, it's more like I think the Trenai in the Burning Crusade, the cinematic. That's what I envision as the perfect holy paladin. He's like reading in books and learning about stuff, and he's hanging out in the libraries of the church and stuff like that, to try to save and help people. And he's also heavy armored, has a mace. Yeah. I really like the medieval fantasy, but I also really like that Trenai in Burning Crusade cinematic, and both really appeal to me. So, and the nature is something that's lacking from the Paladin, and that's why I can't decide between.
They have really cool names, I gotta say. Like you said, they're kind of flashy, like Justicar and High Executor, or whoever. You know, they have this kind of imperial, kind of this imperial swag to them. They're also kind of, I don't know, I imagine paladins being clean and kind of hygienic and straightforward. I don't know if that, whereas warriors are kind of dirty and crusty. They're in the trenches with the other grunts. Paladins,
but paladins can get dirty.
Wipes under his armpits and stuff.
No. Paladins can get dirty when they need to.
Okay.
Like,
but they're very honorful.
Yes, they're very honor. Honor is honor and bound to duty bound honor. Doo-doo bound honor. Like, so for me, like, the paladin is the quintessential hero class.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I forget Death Knights. I don't know why they consider them a hero class, but the paladin is the quintessential like knight hero class.
How are they hero class?
Because I mean, when you think about it in the sense of, like
maybe for the Alliance.
Well, maybe for the Alliance, yeah. Well, and you could say the same about shamans for the Horde, but
I'll agree with that. But
yeah. So, but like when you look at like Warcraft 3 and the Paladins and the role they played there, you know, but for me, when I look at like a Paladin and I think about the knight of medieval times, that's what I think about that, and I think about like Dunedain said, the really clean armor, and also, you know, you stand for justice, right? So you're always about like doing, not always, but doing what's right. And doing like what's good for other people, not only what's good for yourself, but like what's good for others. And that's what I love about paladins, right? Because you have this sense of justice and order. You know, you're there to keep order. and basically any kind of evil that's in the world is what you're up against. And I love that kind of, and that's why I like priest as well. But for me, like the ability to put that in action and to fucking grab a two-handed mace or sword and shield and to be able to fight, for what you believe in, like that's what I really like. The justice in armor, basically. So
thanks, Carmelo.
Oh,
$1 donation for Carmelo.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you very much, man. €1. Appreciate it, man.
See, Carmelo must love
You love what
Paladins
you have
as well.
to say, man.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so like basically it's almost like a priest with that takes up arms. That takes up a two-handed weapon, or that has gotten to the point where they have to go out and fight for what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So I really am pretty set with when it comes to like paladin, priest. Like even the priest is in the play style, I enjoy it with healing and the idea of the shadow priest, which we'll get to later. But when it comes to like if I could be like a fucking paladin in real life, like you know what I mean, I would like love that idea of dispensing justice.
One thing I like about paladins too, obviously the plate armor speaks to the same point, but they're a very defensive class in my mind, at least. Like I don't really think about paladins being some high mobility class you put on some on some party that's going to go out and maraud a village or whatever. I think the paladins on defense, you got the people at the doors, and the paladins are holding it down on defense. Heavy armor, they have the light, and that style resonates with me. Best offense is a good defense. That's a term. So that's would be my style too. I wouldn't necessarily want to go out there and initiate some kind of engagement with someone, but if people come knocking on on my door, then
yeah,
I mean down, so
that's the way I see it, right? The paladins, like maybe in WoW, yeah, it's different, but the way I see it is like you're not going out there and starting shit, right? You're going out and basically doing what's needed of you, like doing what's good. If you're riding on the road on your nice fucking beautiful ass mount, right? Armored mount, yeah.
Always armored, and it's really
exactly.
Also, yeah.
And you see some hunter or some douchebag warlock or hunter, beating up on this poor little priest, and you're like, let me save you, and you come down off your horse and dispense some justice. You know what I mean? Yeah, kind of like a policeman, but more of like that. I see it, that quintessential knight.
Are pallies and priests like government jobs? I think they're like government jobs, dude.
Yeah, I guess.
Kind of, yeah, I guess.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah, but
I don't think Stormwind had that rule.
But in the Alliance, is the Holy Church, are they in charge of everything or no? I'm thinking about it.
No,
they're not in
it's
charge.
not a theocracy. No, it's not a theocracy.
Oh, okay.
But they're very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the dwarves also have. I'm thinking about all the different Alliance cities and stuff. So the dwarves have paladins, so they kind of believe in the light.
Priests.
And priests.
Yep.
There's obviously the humans. It doesn't seem like the gnomes. They're kind of more.
So you have to remember that the priests for the night elves are very different. They're moon priests. They're a loon priests.
It's
so
a
they're
different.
very different.
It's like a different holy or something, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's a different thing. That's why the star shards.
Exactly sure why there are paladins for the dwarves.
Yeah, lore-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Technically, I think it's that the humans taught them how to be paladin.
Oh,
that's
what
happened. But in the idea where like a warrior can be righteous and good, a paladin has to be righteous and good. That's how I see it. So some people that I would say would be paladins in movies and things like that. Melderon said Captain America. He would kind of be like a paladin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
anybody who's lawful good. So remember that D&D. We have to remember to get that up next time we do something like this. That D&D alignment thing. So paladins 99.9% are lawful good. So anyone, basically a Boy Scout, they can't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They even if like their mother is stealing, they're going to turn their mother in. Like that's how. That's
unless you're
good.
Arthas though, because he's an example.
Well, he fell. He
fell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you could still be corrupted, I guess, but it's really rare.
Yeah, and I think it's the idea of striving for like what you want to be, but like,
Judge Dredd, that's another good one.
In Judge Dredd, it's like an unreachable goal almost, in a way.
Now in lore, not in game, obviously, but I'm having a hard
It can
time
be.
like figuring this out. Are paladins just stronger than warriors? Like, as you go around Stormwind, you wouldn't see like a paladin foot patrol. You see like warriors, these Stormwind champions on foot patrol. Then you'll have like one paladin like officer coming through.
There's less paladins than warriors. I think that's why.
Okay.
Paladin war-wise is a very rare thing.
They're very new as well.
Yeah.
It almost seems like they're a more high value asset.
Yeah.
Because
I
they're
would
like
say so.
warriors,
Yeah.
but they also have a little bit of magic, and they can, you know.
And they have the shiniest armor, the heaviest armor, the armored
And
horse.
they can
so-
heal as well. And they can, they have the ability to, heal their targets, buff. So I would think they're not kind of set where a warrior is like the footman. They are more for the damage. The paladin is that knight, and also are able to almost like like an officer where they can help, and that kind of thing is where I see it.
They're definitely the highest rank.
The highest rank. I see
Yeah.
what you're going with this,
Yeah.
Def, when you're saying hero class too, then, because, like, I would imagine that if you're going to send out, some platoon somewhere to go accomplish some mission, it's going to be made up of, like, hunters, warriors, rogues, those kinds of people. And then you'd have, like, one paladin officer or something like that.
Right. Something like that, yeah.
You don't think about, okay, we'll send 10 paladins, like, to
Yeah, and it's
Right.
also interesting to think about is that Paladin and Shaman are also the least popular class in their respective factions as well.
That's
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah,
actually.
that is.
That's something to really think about too. Is that not a lot of people want to play them? That makes them even more elite because Shaman would be obviously the equivalent, and they would be the hero class for the Horde. So, yeah, that to me is really cool because like
That is really
you're
cool.
actually playing your faction at that point, right?
That
Yeah.
is so cool,
It-
actually.
pretty
Yeah.
much, you're embodying. And even though I see myself more as a horde player, I when it comes to like the class, this is why I have a lot of issues when it comes to the horde, they're my home. I feel like the horde players are more my style of people. I feel like the horde is more my style of people, where it's kind of like they're the underdogs trying to find their place in the world. That I associate myself more with, kind of like the underdog trying to find your place in the world. You might be sought at as one thing. People see you as one thing, but really deep down inside, you're much more than that. And but when it comes to the paladin, it's everything that I kind of strive to be. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's how I see it. But I also like the you guys talk about the light is the force. It's very similar. So like you could see as a Jedi being a paladin, like Luke Skywalker
Totally.
would be
yeah.
a good paladin. You know what I mean? And I like that idea, like the light is the force, and that's really cool too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents on it.
Now,
Basically.
shamans, though, do you think shamans have that same kind of officer status in the Horde, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Do they?
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look
I
at
do.
Thrall.
I do.
Yeah.
Look at Thrall. Look at like Drekthar.
That's true.
Like,
Because
the
remember,
shamans,
every
yeah.
tribe only has one shaman, right?
Oh, really? I did not know that.
So, well, I mean, like, I'm talking about, like, okay, what I mean is, like, so in real life, Native American tribes, each, like, clan or tribe had one shaman, not two, right? Or
Yeah, I don't
three or
think
four.
they. Yeah.
And the same thing for the orcs. I believe every orc clan had, like, a main shaman. They had maybe a smaller shaman, like, subsidiary shaman, but, like, they had the elder shaman was, like, their leader.
Farseer.
Yeah, or Farseer. So it's very, very similar. Remember, Paladin and Shaman are supposed to mirror each other in every aspect. Like, Shaman have Ghost Wolf, Paladin have a Pursuit of Justice. Like, there's almost every single thing you think about, there's a counter to it.
Except for the fact that
Except for weapon-
paladins don't have a range.
Yeah.
They don't have
What'd you say?
ranged. You can.
You can
What'd you
judge
say?
shit, but yeah, it's
You can judge or.
and you
holy
can also
shot.
throw your hammer too. You can throw your hammer if they're low.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
so
you can holy
think about
shot
this
from
one.
range, too.
Paladins
Yeah.
have reincarnation, Shamans have bubble. So they're not exactly the same thing, but they do the same. They have the same effect, right? So they can heal.
Or
themselves
like-
with full
It's
health,
interesting
right?
that because both archetypes exist before World of Warcraft, and it's interesting that they made it like the exact counterparts from each other. It's quite interesting
Yeah.
how they did it.
I mean, of
Yeah.
course, Shaman have their own flavor. They have their weapon enhancements. They have their shocks. Those are very Shaman specific, right? But
Yeah.
Paladins have their specific stuff too. But overall,
Whereas-
they're very similar.
No,
Very,
Yeah,
very
they are.
is Karen the guy? Is it Bane or Karen, the leader of Underbuff? Is he a shaman?
Karen.
Karen Blood.
gotta be,
I think
right?
he's a war. No, that's a good question.
I think he's a warrior, but he uses a totem. As
has
He
his
has a
totems.
totem,
Yeah.
definitely.
What about like Anduin or whatever? Is he a priest? He's got to be a priest, right? Little.
And- Anduin's a
Technically,
priest.
he's a priest.
He's
yeah.
a priest. Okay. Okay, I got you.
So yeah, I mean,
Wait, are you talking about Anduin? Sorry, who are you talking about? This
Or
is
the little
the
kid
boy
right in
yeah.
Stormlight.
Yeah.
He's a priest, yeah.
He's a priest, right?
Yeah. Anduin Lothar was a warrior, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think Karen's technically a warrior.
Yeah, I gotta look at that because it's weird because he definitely holds a friggin' totem, but I don't think he has a bar from what I can remember. He might, maybe he does. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty. We covered it pretty well for Paladin.
Pallies are sweet, man. Pallies have grown on me. I think they're kind of cool.
Yeah. We gotta get Melderon.
Do you guys think
with...
that Alliance is? I mean, it's not as simple as good and evil between Alliance and Horde. Like I was trying to draw some
absolutely not.
I was trying to draw some parallel to kind of Star Wars a little bit. I mean, the Horde are kind of these rebels, though, sort of. Are they more rebellious? You think as a faction overall?
I mean, you could argue that the Alliance is actually more evil in some ways.
Yeah.
Here's a better.
Okay,
here's the. And if you're not a Star Trek fan, you're not going to get it. I think that the Alliance is the Federation, and I think that the Horde is the Klingons, but not. So it's like the Klingons that were like it's post. What movie are we talking about here, Matt? When the Klingons were kind of like neutral.
Oh, in the original series, in the original movies.
No, I'm talking about like I'm trying to think what point the Klingons became more neutral. I think it was after they had the.
It was out of the Battle of War, the Battle of the Khitomer Accords. After the Khitomer Accords.
After Khitomer Accords. Yeah. So I think the Horde is more like the wow, I can't the Klingons.
Right.
Then I think that's kind of what I would think the Horde are. They're not evil at all. They're very neutral.
Someone was saying that Alliance is definitely more evil. What would the case be made for that?
See, because like the Romulans could be looked at as kind of like the Alliance, and I mean, not really, but like you could look at it as like the elves are kind of like, because they say they're doing what's good and right for them, but a lot of the times they go and they want to kill all orcs, right? They don't want to just get they want to kill all the orcs. They want to get them like a lot, not all of them, but a lot of them are that
also,
way.
the Alliance has ties to the Scarlet Crusade in some ways. There's some sympathizers there.
True.
Also, they're kind of like the imperialists, sort of, in a way.
Yes.
Like they went into the hinterlands and they killed a bunch of trolls. The trolls are kind of like the ancient people. They were one of the first races, right? And they were in there and they teamed up with someone. I think it was the High Elves or something like that. And they like genocided a bunch of trolls. I mean, I'm sure orcs have their fair share of genocide and shit.
Oh yeah, but at least the orcs were under the control of the Fel, so you could at least say that the orcs were.
But man, the Federation did some effed up shit.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So I don't think either really is good or evil. I think there is good and evil inside of it. Like when we came to Garrosh, a lot of people say Garrosh did nothing wrong, but obviously he did some things that weren't that nice or good. And then when you look at the Alliance, you have people like Jaina, who at times she became pretty crazy, where she wanted to kill and get rid of the Horde towards the end. People like the guy who Jaina's dad, when he was at Kulturas, and he wanted to basically kill all the orcs. So you have a lot of people, and even at times King Variant did things that were looked at as pretty brutal. So I think both factions have their flaws.
This is good though, man. The more we're talking about this, I can't stand it in some of the main movies where they make it too polarizing, the good and evil characters in a movie. Yeah. Like they just make the bad people way too bad. There's no humanity in them, and it's so. I like how both factions have good and evil aspects, and it's more sophisticated.
That's why Game of Thrones is so popular. Game of Thrones is so popular because characters are gray. All the characters are gray.
Yep.
And so, except for the the zombies or whatever the fuck they're called. So that's obviously evil, right? But leave that outside of it. Every other character is so gray. That's why Game of Thrones is so popular.
And that's how life is too, man. Everyone is both good and evil, dude. Even the most straightforward, clean-cut, holier-than-thou person, you bet that guy's got skeletons in his closet. You know what I mean?
Oh,
absolutely. Everybody is gray, dude. Everybody is gray.
That's so true, and that also goes great to the next class we have, which is priest. They are the embodiment, right, of good, and then almost, well, you could say evil, shadow, right? So you have everything good and holy, and then the complete opposite. Like holy and shadow are opposites of each other, and the fact you can get that in one class is kind of
so. Does that
crazy.
mean that paladins are holier than priests because priests have shadow and paladins don't have any of that?
Not a holy priest though, because like you can't look at all priests and say, oh, they're less than because some priests are shadow. You know what I mean? Because like the holiest holy priest or the biggest discipline, holy priest could be holy. I don't think you can look at it that way. You know what I mean?
It's like so the priest that decides to go shadow, lore-wise, class fantasy-wise, has turned their back from the holy light, and they've embraced the madness of the void or the dark.
Yeah.
So
would you say that shadow priests are the most dark class in the game?
I personally think so because of the fall from grace that they had.
Wait, explain that. That sounds juicy. What do you mean there? What do you mean darker than warlocks? That sounds crazy to me.
Because they have a fall from grace. So they were once this, holy embodiment of the light. They denounced that. They are basically like Satan in a way, who was, the angel. You were an angel, and you turned your back on everything that was good, and now you have become the embodiment of what they believe is evil, which is.
Yeah. But mages did that too to become warlocks. Were warlocks once mages or no?
No, they were actually some warlocks. Well,
it's possible, but it's not.
The first warlock probably. The first warlocks
were shamans, I think.
Well, so on the Horde side, the first warlocks on the Alliance were mages of Dalaran.
Oh,
true, yeah.
So we don't
really get too much into that lore-wise. Whereas like a shadow priest, you don't get much of that lore-wise either, but you have that story within the character, right? Because, when you look at a priest, we talked about it's a lot like a paladin, right? So you have the objectivity of order, what's good, standing for righteousness. The disciplined priest, which is basically, I think of it like a monk that's took in vows to be like this, almost like kind of like you ever hear of like the Catholic monks that would hurt themselves because of like what was it called? I forget.
They self-flagellate themselves or whatever.
Yeah, they did shit like that. Like a disciplined monk where you basically have this extreme discipline in what holy and what the light is, and you're a priest, but you've taken it to like a new way, kind of like a monk that's taken a vow of silence or something like that. That's how I kind of see a disciplined priest. Holy priest is just all about the light, right? They're all about the light, using the light to bend, whether to not bending it, but using the light to either heal or do damage. But I see the disciplined priest as being more of a mixture and doing it more towards damage than a healing in my way. Does anybody else see that? Like a disciplined priest is more of they are still a healer.
According to Blizzard, according to some stuff, discipline was supposed to be a melee class.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, fire and stuff like that they put in.
Inner fire.
Yeah, so that's why in the inner fire. Yeah, and that's why I feel like in my example of like what I look at a priest, right? I think of the discipline being kind of the mixture of you've taken some spells of the holy, but you've also you've taken that vow of silence and you're using your holy spells to to smite foes and things like that. So you're almost like almost like a paladin, but you're not quite there because you're still like a priest.
I feel you though. I think that was the early settings or the early beginnings of potentially that monk, like you were saying.
Right.
Like, it almost seems like the name discipline fits that too, right? Like bald-headed dude training in there, hand-to-hand combat.
That's exactly how I think, and I think of the holy, like the holy priest and the holy tree is the quintessential healer. You know what I mean? Like they're there for
the premier healer in Warcraft. Yeah. I think that's
even though you can do both in disc and holy.
Inner fire. What does it do exactly now?
It adds armor. So inner fire is the buff that you put on yourself.
Yeah, but it has 20 stacks. Yeah, originally it added attack power as well.
Oh,
right. I think that was
I didn't know if it still did it, but
no, it doesn't still do that.
No, now it's just armor. It's just armor.
Okay.
And it's really interesting because, like, in the discipline tree, you can get improved inner fire, things like that. You also get not pain suppression yet, but you get inner focus, which increases the damage and healing of your abilities by 20%. So that's why I feel like even though there are some talents in the holy tree that increase your damage, such as like the smite and the holy fire things, I feel like you're more of a damage dealer in the discipline tree than anything. And there are a lot of people that level as discipline, and then you have the opposite, which is shadow, right? So you have basically turned your face away from the light, and I mean, when you look at the contrast, there is no other class that has such a contrast between its two talents, its two talent trees, and then shadow. It's like, oh yeah, healing stuff, boom, like basically like.
Can I ask something?
Shit
Is
on a
shadow
thing.
like an accepted thing? Like, I wonder how people on the Alliance or Horde would feel about a shadow priest. Is that, if you're a shadow priest, that's cool? Like, you can still hold a position in the church or whatever, or is it like a bad underground thing?
Well, I can speak from the Horde side. Is that almost all the shadow priests you see in the game that are NPCs are trolls.
Yeah.
So I think that on an Alliance perspective, shadow priests would be not welcome.
Yeah,
But there are
I
still
agree.
warlocks on the Alliance side, right? Like, they're just few and far between, like barely trusted, kind of like.
Yeah, and
But
they're
shadow
kind of
priests are super dark. That's why I
Yeah.
asked. In my opinion, it's by far the most dark specialization in the game.
yeah.
Because
I
they
think so, yeah.
really turned from the light to the dark, and they cannot go back. That's how I.
Yeah, and see how warlocks, like, they do have their own little like section, but it's like kind of hidden away. Whereas like shadow priests are like, you know, like don't even like, it's almost like Voldemort, like, oh, we don't speak of them. Or, that's how I kind of feel of it in a way, you know. And yeah, I think the Horde would be a little bit more accepting, especially because they don't have the same guidelines of the light. Like when you look at the Alliance, the light to them,
they don't.
is
None of
sacred,
the
you know?
races have that religion.
except for the undead or the
No,
Forsaken.
but do they really though?
Well, technically,
I don't think they do anymore.
No, I guess no.
Look,
Yeah,
the
and that's
chapels are all,
why.
like destroyed and
That's why I love the idea of I'm going to go into like my class fantasy now. That's why I love the idea of a Forsaken undead shadow priest, right? Because I like to think that before I died, I was like a holy priest or a disciplined priest,
That
and
is
then
pretty
when
cool.
I died, right? When I died, I lost everything. I lost my connection to the light. I lost my life, my family, all this. And the only thing that was left there was the darkness. And I embraced the darkness and used the darkness as my tool to kill my enemies.
But you
That's
still kind of use your
my
old,
class
your
fantasy.
old skills that you learned, you know, to throw up some.
Yeah. Exactly. Like that
I
is
agree,
my
I
class
agree with
fantasy.
Kargoz. It's pretty emo. You have to admit.
It's pretty
Oh,
emo,
shut
but
up,
it's
dude.
kind of
It
cool.
is. It's pretty badass, though.
It's pretty
Screw you.
badass.
I mean, how cool is it that not only are
I tear my heart open.
I'm gonna see me bleed.
Yeah. But I have to admit, I think the emo would be like more of a human shadow priest. I don't see that for undead. I see that as like a vengeance thing, or it's like you said, you're losing yourself, or you know, that's
and using all that was left. You wake up as the kind of embrace, right? But like when you said the human, I can understand for them maybe it's even more taboo because like they believe in the light and their whole thing is the light and all this. So it could be argued that it's way more taboo for a human or a dwarf, or even a night elf.
Definitely for a night elf. Yeah.
Well, so
one thing. Let me try and. I don't know if you guys have any information on this. So warlocks, they use demon energy, right? Like fel energy, demonic energy.
Yeah,
right?
or fire based. Yep.
Yeah, or fire, but you know, like.
Oh, sorry. The schools they use are fire and shadow.
Okay, so they're using the same, but how come the priests aren't using like demonic energy then?
Well, it's just classic ways that the game's designed, and there's no demonic school. So, but I think if there was, the warlocks would be using like fel. They wouldn't be using shadow.
Exactly. So what Kargoz is saying is, so the warlock, you know, when in the movie and all that, it's more from like the fel power, and the fel and the void are two very different things.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So that you just hit the nail on the head. So there's a fel, like source of power and stuff, and there's
fel is the opposite of arcane.
Okay.
Fel is the opposite of arcane, and void is the opposite of light.
Oh, okay.
Shadow's the opposite of holy, yeah.
Yeah.
So shadow priests don't have access. That's why shadow priests don't have access to like fel hunters and void walkers.
No. Well, they do. They do later get a.
They get the little guy, but he's a shadow guy. He's not a demon.
Shadow
fiend.
Shadow fiend.
In the Burning Crusade. Yeah. But that's not a demon.
No, that's more of an embody. That's the shadow turned into the small. You know, using the shadow to create a life form.
So the fel and the void are two negative forces in the universe, but they are not on the same side.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
would you say that priests are more religious than paladins?
I think paladins, dude. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I think the only thing that I think is like, so the priest devote themselves to the light. The paladins do as well, but they also take up arms to defend it. When it's more like the priests are kind of the... So when you, like, the way I would see it as, right, so you have like this knight that is, that maybe was once a priest, but he took up arms. But does that make the priest less than? No, it makes the priest maybe even more devoted because he stayed as a priest. So I guess you can argue for one or the other, but in my opinion, the paladin is fighting in his way for the light, using the light to fight, when the priest is more using the light for its healing powers, like lore-wise, for the healing powers to help others in a way where you're not doing as much damage to others. So, I mean, it's weird. You can argue it either way. The way I see it is that the priest, like the holy priest, is the most devoted to the light in my.
Let me make the case for the paladin, though, real quick. Let me make the case for the paladin.
Yeah. Okay.
So priests, it's kind of a possible tree. They know they can go. It's a route. They can go shadow. That's like a route that's kind of built into their class. Like you can go discipline, holy, or shadow. Shadow's a thing. Paladins, the worst they have is retribution, which does have kind of a dark aspect to it because it's like avenging someone. You're supposed to take the higher road and not do that. But at least they don't have access to the void at all. So they have
I understand what you're saying.
And then they actually have a skill where they kill themselves to protect someone, dude. They literally martyrdom themselves, dude. They just sack themselves, dude. They die. They die. That's it. That skill is the holiest skill. I think. What skill is holier than that?
That's pretty. Yeah, I have to agree with that.
The only thing that I disagree with a little bit is the fact that the priest, they also have abilities that, when a priest dies, they have the spirit of redemption. So it's kind of, in a way, I don't know, it's like when you die, you're still helping others. So that's kind of, I don't know, maybe similar in a way, but so I don't look as the shadow tree as being like an option. It's more of like you have the priest, and then you have the priest who, like, if a paladin were to have walked away from the light, they would have just been a paladin who walked away from the light. But if a priest were to do it, they have, it's like so taboo that a priest does it, then they become the shadow priest.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm looking at almost as like if you turn you're at this point where you're so connected to the light that when you turned your back on the light, you became
let me ask you something.
Priest. That's kind of how
just
I
because
see
what the game has these 3 specs, maybe that doesn't reflect the lore accurately. So are paladins? Would Death Knight be that shadow path for paladins since Arthas went that? Or is that a separate thing?
So Death Knights.
You don't have to be a paladin to be a Death Knight. That's the only thing.
Okay. That's true. So Death Knights are interesting. So they have they use Shadow and Frost schools, but they are not. They are neither Void nor are they Fel, because Ner'zhul broke away from the Burning Legion. So he's his Death Knights before they leave the Lich King or whatever's control. And by the way, they're not the original Death Knights; they're the second Death Knights. So the Death Knights we're talking about, the ones that you can play in WoW, were under the control of the Lich King, who is Ner'zhul and Arthas together in one entity. But they do not belong to the Fel, nor do they belong to the Shadow. They are their own thing.
The Death Knight is its own thing?
Oh. As far as evil alignment is concerned.
Okay.
Ner'zhul used to be part of the Burning Legion, but he broke away from it. So the Scourge is its own source of evil.
Yeah, they are the Scourge.
So it's their own faction. They have no relation to Burning Legion or anything.
Correct.
Like that. Oh, interesting. Okay.
The Scourge that we know, like once Arthas took.
But it all started because of the plagued rice or grains or whatever that's
when they were still under control of the Burning Legion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
But yes, so yeah. But and then the original Death Knights are not that at all. The original Death Knights were human bodies that were resurrected from the dead and instilled with orc souls. Mm-hmm. They were back in Draenor, and they were also the Burning Legion.
They were the orcs and humans, the ones that came with Ner'zhul when when his soul was taken by Kil'jaeden. The orcs that were with him, their souls were stripped as well and put inside the human bodies, and that's how they became the first Death Knights.
Okay.
That's how you got what's his name?
Oh god,
from
what
Black
the hell is his
Temple.
name? Yeah, Black Temple, the boss in Black Temple. Come on, guys, help us out.
To
Teron Gorfine.
Teron Gorfine.
It's interesting though that the inverse. So like Death Knights are supposed to be bad, right? How come they don't have one good tree?
What do you mean they don't have one good trait?
Like no, one good tree or one good spec. Like so, Precept Shadow, even. I would assume that Death Knights. Is it possible for a Death Knight to have like a holy tree or something like that? One. Like,
no, because I think that they like the way that Melderon describes it, right? It's like they're like, you know how they're using what they are, the death and the decay and all that, to fight. So it's like, yeah, even though they are basically embodiment of like what the Scourge is and all that, they're taking that what they are against the Lich King.
Okay, are they dead, by the way? That's another question.
Yes.
They are undead. They're technically undead. Yes.
Oh, okay, so they're actually dead. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're a Forsaken Death Knight, you're actually double undead.
Double dead. Yeah.
Double.
Does that make you alive?
He died twice. Dude.
I think
That's
so.
Super
It's double
emo
negative
right
equals
there.
a positive.
Yeah, right?
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
So we still didn't do any notable characters for the priest. So is there,
priest.
yeah,
There's a lot of them. The
anything?
Pope.
The Pope. Jesus.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I
So
mentioned
I guess
those-
any priest.
I mentioned those books from what's it called? The Sword of Truth in English. Last time.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. So you have those Sisters of the Darkness. I mean, I think those are shadow priests. Like, it's perfect example. And
Which-
some of them can return to the light. By the way.
Was Gandalf a priest or a mage? I'm
Gandalf's
actually
definitely a
curious.
mage.
You think so? But
Mage.
his light was all
Yeah.
white and stuff. He can res people.
We talked about this last week. It's kind of in the gray.
You're right,
It's kinda
because like
gray.
when he became the white, he's more like a priest then. You know what I mean?
dude,
So
he can
Gandalf
res
would be
people.
right.
He actually has like a little holy nova thing following him in the battle. You know what I mean? It's like this.
Because technically, like Gandalf is almost like, if you think about the lore, he's almost like an angel. Not an angel, but
And Sauron
I mean,
is
yeah.
the is Death Knight,
Kind
dude,
of,
for sure.
yeah.
Sauron,
Yeah,
Death
yeah.
Knight, right?
um,
Frodo's a fucking.
So
rogue
what about
for sure.
Dracula? Could Dracula be a like a shadow?
Dracula would be. I think he would be a shadow,
Shadow
priest.
priest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah, but like I'm trying to think of something that was once good and then turned evil. So kind of like Satan. Satan's a shadow priest.
What about like the Sith Lords and stuff? Do they use shadow?
Well, you could say Anakin is a shadow priest, right? Because he was like Darth Vader. Because he was basically good and then turned evil, you know.
Yeah.
But I think Lucifer is like the devil is a really good example, you know, of being this embodiment of holiness and light and then turning into the complete opposite of.
Does Lord of the Rings have everything that WoW has as far as classes? I think it does.
Maybe
No,
maybe
absolutely not.
Elrond is like a priest.
What do you
or-
mean?
Lord of the
No
Rings doesn't
shaman,
have shaman.
definitely not.
No, they don't. They have shamans on the orc side, like the orc side.
Not that I know.
Not that. Not.
Witch
No, I've never
doctory
even seen
ones
it.
and
Something
stuff?
comes close to it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there's a witch doctory one, sure, but like maybe it takes an herb or a, rubs it in a wound or something. If you're gonna use that, then yeah, we can stretch it to say there's shaman. But but Blizzard shaman is very unique.
Okay.
But what would you
Blizzard
say Elrond is?
Who?
Elrond?
Elrond.
Elrond, that's a tough one.
That is a
I
tough
would,
one.
I would probably put him as a priest.
I was gonna say discipline priest.
Yeah.
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 Smeagol's definitely.
Yeah, Saruman would be a shadow priest. Very good. I think that's a good one.
Saruman would definitely be a shadow priest. That's really good. I like
Yeah,
that.
I think that would be a
Saruman.
good one.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Saruman.
The guy up in the Twin Tower, right? The
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude up there.
Uh,
The dude up there. in
Yeah.
that
So
tower.
yeah. So let's see. Let's not all 9 classes. They definitely have a hunter. They definitely have warrior. They definitely have rogue. I think Legolas is a mix between a rogue. I think the halflings are kind of rogues.
Rogue / hunters. Yeah.
I think they have
Oh,
paladins
halflings
too,
are
man.
right.
If you think about like
Yeah.
the Riders of Rohan and like
Oh, they definitely
they have
have.
like those holy guys, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
You know
Minister Earth guys too.
You know who's a good shadow priest? Spawn.
Spawn.
Spawn. Oh yeah, there's no. I don't think there's
Yeah.
a druid. No, that's a good point.
Oh,
Flip.
Yeah,
druid,
like-
true.
Most of the elves, or some of
Wait.
the elves are druids.
I know a druid that's in Lord of the Rings. The green.
Oh, the
Wizard.
Green Wizard.
That's
Yeah,
true,
that's
yo. Let
true.
me type in Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
druid.
Yep.
Does that
The
exist?
green wizard.
Radagast. Radagast.
Radagast,
Yeah.
is
Radagast
his name,
is a red. He's a red.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
So, yeah, they
right.
definitely
The
have
guy with the
druids.
trees, right? The guy who's shapeshifting into trees.
Yeah,
They
Tom
do have
Bombadil
druids.
is also a druid. I agree.
They even
Yep.
have tree form in Lord of
Wait
the
a minute.
Rings.
So, who else is a druid? Bjorn.
Who's that?
Oh, Beorn. Oh,
Hello?
yeah, Beorn. Absolutely, he's a druid.
Bjorn.
Huh?
Beorn. Yeah,
Beorn, yeah.
he's absolutely a druid. He's a
Absolutely,
shapeshifter
yeah.
too.
Is that he's
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings?
He's the dude who turns into a bear.
Yeah, he turns into a bear. He literally
Yeah.
turns into a bear.
In Lord of the Rings, I'm blanking on this.
And
In
he's
Lord
in
of
the
the Rings,
Hobbit,
yeah.
the Hobbit, the Hobbit.
He's also. Oh yeah, he's in the Hobbit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Warlock.
You can.
Oh,
say Saruman is a warlock as well.
Yeah.
you can also say so when Sauron.
I have Kilrog.
When Sauron still was in his human form.
True, man.
No, so you guys know Sauron was in a human form before he became
Yes.
the Eye, right? And they
Yep.
called him the Necromancer. So I
Mhm.
think that would be a warlock right there.
Yeah, true.
Oh, you're
So,
right, dude. This Bjorn guy's definitely a druid. He actually goes into
Isn't
bear
he?
form.
Yeah. So remember the eyes that you could see through? Those are definitely like eyes of Kilrog.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah,
guys,
yeah, yeah.
So the only one I'm blanking on here is there's definitely mage. We could say Gandalf could probably be a mage.
Yeah.
The only one I'm blanking on here is I think
Shaman,
Shaman.
right? Kinda
Shaman,
Shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Maybe some of those human folks are helping Sauron. Maybe there.
There's goblins,
those with-
goblin
with those
shamans. People are
elephants,
saying
you know?
in Lord of the Rings, there's goblin
Yeah,
shamans.
maybe
people are
goblins.
saying.
Yeah, maybe
But
there's some
did-
goblins.
But are they like what makes them a shaman?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so that's kind of the only one. You're actually kind of right, Melderon. That's pretty unique to Blizzard. That their
Blizzard has a
interpretation of
very
a
unique
shaman.
idea of shaman. They have
Here we
very
go.
very.
So
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings fan on Wiki. Goblin shamans are the leaders of the goblin faction and worshipped the Balrog, believing that they would be endowed with the deadly power it possessed. There
Dude,
you
is
go.
a Balrog like an infernal? Kind of.
Remember the Bal? Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
He's
He's more of a
it's-
demon, I think, right?
Dude,
yeah,
Lord of
he's
the
a
Rings is
demon.
so good, man. How long has it been since you guys watched it? I'm about to watch it again, man.
I
that's
know,
the
dude.
best.
We watched
the best.
part of the Return of the King at the gym actually a couple weeks
Yeah.
The best.
I'm
dude.
actually at the second movie right now.
We spent one day where me, Melderon, and a buddy of ours watched all 3 of the extended editions.
Oh my god.
We
Yeah, we
ordered
just
so
ordered
much
food
food
and just sat down and
just
watched
sat
it.
there and watched all of
Coming
it.
over, dude.
It was epic.
Dude,
I only watched the extended
1978?
editions. What?
That's when it came out, 1978. Holy shit. That's
What?
crazy.
What came out in
Lord of the
1978?
Rings?
The first film, animated film, the first part of
Oh, the
Jared
animated
Hawkins.
film. Yeah, the
Yeah.
animated. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
love those.
The first Lord of the
films.
Rings came out 2002 or 4 or something like that, I think.
You guys remember
Yeah.
Lemmy Winks?
Yeah, it was very good time with World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We talked
I
about
never
that in
watched the
one
And
of
some
the
of the
normal
Legolas
edition.
Hunters, yes.
I only watched the extended edition like 10 times, but never the normal one, so...
Yeah, I think Kyle, shamanism is kind of a catch-all. So I think we but I have to say this: Blizzard's version of shamanism, like Blizzard Shaman, is very unique.
Yes.
Like
The idea of
lightning
the Blizzard
spells,
Shaman,
The Native
weapon
American theme,
enhancements.
like you're talking about the TPs, I never saw that before, yeah.
Oh, even that, like weapon enhancements, shocks, like
Mhm.
lightning spells. That's very Blizzard unique. That's Ghost Wolf form. I mean, all those things are kind of, I think, are very unique.
Yeah,
Totems.
Ghost Wolf is like
Totems.
basically Ghost Wolf is like your spirit animal. Like when you think about it, it's like
Yeah,
a spirit
yeah.
animal. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we've done all of them, I mean, do you guys have a changed opinion on class fantasy for everything?
It's interesting.
What do you guys think at this point after we reviewed all of them? I have my thoughts on it, but you guys go ahead.
So I personally like I've always loved the paladin and priest, the idea of the light. But even though I really like the priest and all, the idea of like the class fantasy of when I play like a holy priest, which I do play a lot, I don't feel so much connected to the fantasy of that class. I feel more connected of how I'm playing that class, being the helper, being that kind of person where I'm giving and doing that kind of thing, whereas I'm healing. So when it comes to like me enjoying the class fantasy aspect of things more, is when I play a paladin or when I play even like a rogue. But mostly I'd say a paladin. So when it comes to the play style that I enjoy, it's definitely the healing as like a priest. So that's another interesting thing. But I
I
really,
appreciate hunters more than I did before.
yeah, I think I appreciate them less, honestly.
But okay, so sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
Daniel.
go on,
go ahead.
Okay, I would say I spend a lot of time thinking about which class I want to play, and now I think I cannot make a wrong decision. They're all super interesting. I still think Paladin and Hunter and Druid are the most interesting fantasies, but all 9 of them are really super nice. So I think I really cannot choose the wrong one.
Yeah, class design was so friggin' well done.
It really was. Yeah,
so good.
I don't think we'll ever see. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again.
Oh, Bullocks do have a lot of depth. They do.
I've never seen a game that's balanced across so many different ways, man. Like, we're finding ways the game is balanced in ways I never thought about. Like, we're just talking about
the weapon enhancement stuff. I couldn't believe. You know, I don't know if you saw it, Kargoz, but I did it. You know, it's 560 tests. The weapon buffs are fucking balanced, man.
560 tests.
Yeah,
dude, we were dueling, right? And I'm like Melderon. I'm like, are you looking at what I'm looking at? And I'm dueling them. I'm like, let me try that. Dude, they're all the same. I'm like, maybe it's my level, this and that. All it really comes down to is, like, if you're fighting a target that has armor, then use a spell enhancement. If you have spell power, you use a spell enhancement, obviously. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, it's so balanced. And, like, learn this kind of stuff. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, Wind Fury is so much better if you're using a two-hander. Like, he did so many sets of tests, and the more sets he would have done, the closer and closer and closer would. Everything
just keeps converging.
Yeah,
that's
so it's
crazy.
Like they literally designed these weapon buffs for it to be about the encounter, not about the weapon speed, or there's no hidden. It's all about the encounter. It's just. I don't that to me, like, everyone just thinks, oh, flame tongue fast, blah blah blah, it scales better, and I just kept testing and testing and testing and testing. It's not true. It just doesn't come out. So we just keep learning. Defcamp and I say this every day. We learn something about the game that we didn't know every friggin' day.
Every day.
That's so
every
crazy,
day.
Man.
So true.
Dunedain said, I couldn't have said it more beautifully myself. Dunedain, like, after reviewing all these classes, I have more of an appreciation for some of them. Stuff like Priest. Stuff like even pretty much all of them. I think I have a higher appreciation for all the classes.
Even Rogue?
Rogue.
Fuck Rogues. They're whatever, dude. Fucking Rogues, man. But all of them except for Rogues, man. I guess even Rogues do little Legolas dancing around like a little fucking fairy, poking people in the holes in their armor. That's cool, I guess. But the game is so balanced and amazing, man. Like, across so many different ways, and it just blows my mind. Like you said, Melderon, I don't know if we're ever going to see it again, man. From a lore perspective, it's sort of balanced.
I don't think we're going to ever see a game like this
it's almost balanced. From a class fantasy perspective, it's kind of balanced.
Yeah.
And my only advice,
like,
to anyone that's going to play,
New England Patriots,
pick anything.
I watch a lot of football theory stuff and everything, and I hate Tom Brady and I hate the Patriots. We're never going to see a dynasty like the Patriots ever again. We're never going to see it. It's never going to have 6 championships. They'll probably win another one before Tom Brady retires. You're never going to see that combination of quarterback and coaching like that. And I don't think there'll be
line.
And I don't think there'll be anything like Classic WoW ever in the history of our race.
This is the game of our generation, man. Probably, if that's even a thing. This is the game of our generation.
There will be other great games. There will be other amazing games. But there.
You're breaking up, and you broke up in the funniest position. You're like, but my advice to anyone like worried about what they want to play, they'll be back in a second, guys. They'll be back in a second. Is just know this: Classic WoW does such a good job of making all the classes look so cool, so that when you're playing your class, you look someone else leveling, and you go, "Damn, that guy looks like he's having so much fun. He looks so strong." Just keep that in mind.
So true.
That Classic does that, and know that your class is awesome. You just have to dig a little deeper and look at the positives. And honestly, you can find reasons to fall in love with any class in the game. That's all.
Exactly.
I'm saying. And if you're getting hung up on what you should play, just think to yourself, eventually, I'm gonna have them all at 60. So it doesn't matter. Just play what you're playing right now. You're gonna have them all at 60 eventually, right? So.
Yeah. Well said, man.
Yeah.
So shall we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. All right. So Melderon and Defcamp are rip. They're forever. It looks like they're trapped in stone. But we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. If you're not subscribed to Dunedain, especially Dunedain deserves way more freaking subs, man. If you can put your channel in the chat, Dunedain, please.
Yeah, I will.
Subscribe to this dude. He makes awesome content. Super nice guy. You're probably already subscribed to Defcamp and Melderon at this point. Subscribe again. Make another account and subscribe again. And that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We talked about 2 weeks now. I've been talking about class fantasy. We talk about this stuff for hours and hours more. So 1 week closer to Classic, guys. Hang in there, and we'll catch you next week, all right? We might do the game shows tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll see if who we can get on board for it. But thank you so very much for your time today. Dunedain, any last words, man?
Thanks everyone for being here. It's awesome to be able to do this, and thanks to you as well for having me join.
Of course, man.
It's really great.
There he is. We're getting half of Melderon's head in each square. Any final thoughts, Melderon? Anything you want to say? I think you're muted, bro. We're gonna end it here, boys. See you next week. Peace out.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.